I'll be ready in a heartbeat. Won't you please tell me where to go? Come down over heaven. If you wanna just meet me for the next, I'll shuffle my feet. I would never hesitate. I would want to keep you waiting. All you do is ask me, baby. Yeah. Anything you want, anything you want, anything you need, satisfy. You can get it from me, baby. I got it, I got it. All you have to do is think it. I'll read your mind. Whatever it is, sky's the limit, baby. Anywhere, anyhow, anytime. Flow with your mind, cause I'm feeling it, baby. I'm so deep into you. I know your heart desire before you push it, I would lie at your feet. That is why I can give you anything you want, anything you need, anything you need. I can satisfy if you just believe and get it from me. Anything you want, anything you need. I got it, I can satisfy. I got it if you need. Break it down right here. Yeah. Whatever you want is good. Whatever you want is good. Whatever you want is good. Anything you want, anything you want, anything you need, anything I can satisfy. If you just you can get it from me. Anything you want, anything you need, I got it. I can satisfy. If you need a try, slow your mind, cause I'm feeling it, baby. I'm so deep into you. I know your heart desire before you wish it, I will lie at your feet. That is why I can give you anything you want, anything you need, anything you I can satisfy. If you just believe anything you want, anything you need. I got it, I can satisfy. If you need anything you want, anything you need, you can get it from me. I got it. Break it down right here. One more time. Come on. Whatever you want is good. Whatever you want is good. Whatever you want is good. Anything you want, anything you need, anything you want can satisfy. Anything you just need, anything you want, anything you want, anything you need. I got it, I can satisfy. I got it, I got it. I got it. I give it to you. What's good? What's good? What's good out there in YouTube world? How y'all doing? How y'all be? How your mama doing? How your daddy doing? How your uncle doing? How your grandma doing? Your grandmama, your grandpapa, your wives, your husbands, your side pieces. No, just how everybody doing. How everybody doing out there? Oh man. So for those of you like scratching your head, like, what the heck was that, man? That is my old band. It was either the year 2000 or 2001. We were called The Other Side. And I figured since today is Throwback Thursday, instead of putting my usual opening theme, I said, well, how about I just put a throwback performance of me chilling on the keys and singing background vocals. That's all I did with that band. Background vocals and just playing the keys. So you know what I'm saying? So but anyway, enough about that. Yeah, anything you want. That's the name of the song. What is it? Anything you want, anything you need. Hey, I can satisfy if you just believe. Ooh, anything you want, anything you need. I can satisfy, just give me a try. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, it didn't go quite like that. But anyway, y'all get it now. But anyway, how is everyone doing out there? As you can see, I am joined with Diminished, which is so perfect since we're going to be talking about diminished chords tonight. So she decided to call herself Desandra Diminished. What's going on, Desandra Diminished?
See there, I'm gonna let you have it. I'm just gonna let you have it.
I
'Cause I
appreciate
mess
that.
with
Thank
you
you.
all the time, so I'm gonna let
Thank
you. I'm gonna let,
yes,
I'm gonna let
yes.
you have your
You
shining
talk about
moment.
my big head and everything. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me have that. Thank you, man. They said they love your name, D. Hold on, who said? Mitch Show said that. He like, I love your name, D Diminish. You know what I'm saying? We talking about diminished chords today too. 112 Deezy said to slap me. I see who my true friends are. Okay.
There you go.
I see who my true friends are. Who my true friends are. Uh, with the last name Charles, I'm gonna let you know right now that we speak English in here. So most of us, if not all of us, have no idea what you're typing right there. So yeah. So
I know one word said please. I think I don't.
oh,
I
por
believe
favor, or por, or Pour.
por
Okay.
something
But
like that.
okay. Well, see, she know more than me. But I'm assuming that music means music, and the last word you type, I know that means music. Maybe mercy means more music. Something, please. I don't know. But anyway, uh, for those of you who are joining us, as you can see with the title of the room, oh, he gave it to us in English. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the love and music from Paris. All right. And thank you for the English, man. Thank you for the English. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. For those of you who don't know, if you do not say hello to us in the chat room, we do not know that you're here. So definitely, and we always like to take a minute and say hello to everyone before we jump into our theory lesson. So definitely hop on the chat. If you haven't said hello yet, say hello to us. We're not going to bite. We might crack a joke on you or something, but we won't bite you. Okay, we might crack a joke now. I ain't gonna say we're not gonna crack a joke, but we won't bite you, okay? Because I think we ate already, so we're not too hungry anyway. So but again, for those of you, if this is your first time here, thank you and welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us again. We have been doing these extra live streams since the quarantine has happened because you requested it. We put a poll up and everybody we had a large percent of people say they would like to see some live streams on Wednesdays and Thursdays, in addition to the one that we already do on Saturdays. So that's why we're here. And about for the last 2 weeks, I've really been focusing on music theory at the beginning of these live streams, because I think it's really important. You know what I'm saying? It's really important. And we're going to let somebody else slide on the panel in 3, 2, 1. What's up, Drea?
Hey, Miriam.
Hey,
All right, how you be?
Oh,
Business.
oh, okay. Is that how you be? Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely great to see you again.
Yeah.
Haven't seen you in a couple of streams, so definitely great to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We just going in here just saying hello to everybody. This is my first time and I'm excited. First time for what, Nathan? What are you talking about? First time for what? As many times as you've been on here? What are you referring to when you say this is your first time? What the heck is he talking about? I just had a burger and fries before I came here. Mitch Soul said, okay, so yeah, you won't bite either. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, he said with grape juice. Okay, I don't know why we're talking about food now. But okay.
You said bite.
Theory is very important. Theory will help you. Oh, Nathan, like just joking. I'm like, okay, I was about to say, bro. Up here telling that lie, talking about this your first time, man. All right, so we'll take another minute, and like I said, if you have not said anything to us in the chat room, here's the time now to say hello while we giving out hellos, and we will jump into the music theory portion first, and then once we are finished with the music theory portion, we always run our mouths about something music.
Yeah, that's
So
what you do, Richard.
it's always something. And since we have Drea here, I already know what I want to start off with because she wasn't here yesterday, and we talked about that Clark Sisters movie a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely want to get her insight. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, or maybe a lot. I don't care. I don't care if we talk about it again. It don't bother me none. It was a great movie, and so I will definitely. So I'm giving her a hint right now. I'm telling her right now, like, hey, get your thoughts together about that movie while I'm doing this theory lesson.
All right.
Hello. Okay, Mayoli is saying hello. So I guess that's Medea. Medea saying hello. Hello. Mayoli. How you doing? Hello. Kyle Thomas. How you doing, Kyle? Good to see you. Nathan, you said you missed it. You missed what? What are you referring to?
Probably your lessons.
Oh, well, they're still online. It's like all of them still online. All you have to do is just go to the beginning of the live streams. Just look for the live streams, and you'll recognize the title. You'll see what the title says, and you'll say, "Oh, okay, this is definitely the theory." Oh, he said the discussion yesterday he missed. Okay. Yeah. Don't worry, we got Dre here, so I can't wait to hear what she got to say about Twinkie giving away her royalty, well, her signing her catalog over and letting the man push her mama down and still going to North Carolina. How all the bishops wanted to sit Maddie Mouse down for going on. I can't wait to hear all this stuff. And what's the Niecy having all them babies? Oh, I can't wait to hear what Dre got to say about that. So if y'all want to hear what she got to say about that, y'all gonna have to stick around past the theory lesson. So I guess y'all like, well, then you get with the theory already, so we can get to that part. All right. I guess everybody who is going to say hi has said hello. So let me get myself setting up. Now, ladies, I'm going to zoom into me so that they can see the keyboard, but you are still able to be heard. So if you wanted to chime in about anything or ask a question, you still can be heard. You won't be seen, but you'll be heard. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. As long as unless you mute your mic, then we won't hear you. But okay. All right. So along with the lesson, let me tonight we're talking about Diminish, and I probably didn't say Diminished 7, but that's what we're going to. I mean, we'll start with Diminished Chords because we did Diminished Chords a couple of streams ago, but we're going to go into Diminished 7s, half diminished. What in the world does that mean when something is half diminished? And we're going to also look at the slash chords because that came up yesterday in the lesson. Someone was saying that they was getting confused about slash chords, so we want to review that. It's easier than you think. Is slash chords is not really that. You shouldn't let that one get you too tangled up. So hopefully this lesson won't be as long as yesterday's, but I'm just making sure I have everything set up that I need set up, and then we're getting ready to start right now. Just give me a second to just scroll some things around on my two monitors. Okay, so here we go. Now, some of the things that we've gone over, we talked about how to build major scales using whole, half, whole, half. That's whole step, half step, whole step, half step. That's one way of figuring out your major scale. And from the scale, we talked about how to build chords. That's what we've been really focusing on, building chords. We talked about how to build the major chord, the major 7 chord, the minor 7. We talked about the dominant 7. Yesterday, we talked about the major 9, 11, 13ths, and the dominant versions of those same 3 chords. And so now tonight, this evening, we're going to look at the diminished 7 and half diminished. So that's kind of like basically saying a fully diminished chord, half diminished chord. And then we're going to look at the slash chord. So we're not going to, like I said, hopefully we won't go too deep. Now, if any of this is just too much, if you're just joining me for the first time on one of my live streams and you're like, yo, man, this is too advanced for me, what in the heck are you talking about? Don't worry about it. All you have to do is just go back to maybe 2 weeks ago where I started this session of doing theory and everything, and you can actually work your way back up to this lesson, okay? Because I don't want to go over everything. The only thing I'll probably review is how to build your major scale, and I'm only going to do a 30-second lesson on that. And then from there, we're going to look at the chords. So your scale, we're going to it's always best to start with C major because most people understand C major without having to think too hard. It's all white keys. You start from C and you go to the next C. Okay, so 1, and of course, whatever note you're starting on, that note is also known as 1, right? So of course, C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7. Then you're back at the 1 again. But if you're going to do extended chords, then you might as well look at this as 8 because then D will become 9, E will become 10, F becomes 11, G becomes 12, A becomes 13, B becomes 14. Now, I said some numbers that you will never see listed. I just used the numbers so that you can, the numbers. You'll never hear of a chord called 12 something. You'll never hear of a chord called 14. You'll never hear of a chord called 10. You know what I'm saying? So, basically all your chords usually are like you'll hear 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Sometimes you'll hear sus2. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the number 2 will come up. All right. But anyway, okay. Now let's look at the regular diminished chord first. Okay. So first let's build our C major chord. Most of you should know already that a major chord will be the first note, the third note, and the 5th note of your major scale. So of course, in the key of C, C is 1, E is 3, G is 5. Okay. Now, if you want to make this a diminished chord, the first step is to make it minor first by taking the 3rd, which is E, you lower it a half step. Okay. Then you have to take the 5th, lower that a half step. Once you do that, you now have a C diminished chord. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this, and we went over this already. We went over this on a previous live stream, but what we're going to look at now is what is called a C, I guess you can say fully diminished, like a D. We'll say diminished 7 chord. Some people can say that means it's fully diminished. Okay, so in the key of C, B is our 7th note, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that means you have to take the 7th and you lower that a half step also. Okay, so once you do that, now you have what is called a C diminished 7 chord. Sometimes it's called fully diminished. You'll hear people say, yeah, that's like a fully diminished chord. Usually they'll just say D diminished 7. You know what I'm saying? So you got the 1, the root is just stays the root, C. Then you take the 3rd note of the scale, lower it a half step. Take the 5th note, lower it a half step. Take the 7th note, lower it a half step. Okay. Now let's look at the other chords that we can build from there. Let's go back. We went to C major, right? C major is the 1, 3, 5. And if you add the 7th note, this becomes what? C major 7, right? C major 7. Now, if you take your triad, which is the C, E, G, and you lower just the 3rd note of the scale by a half step, you have a minor chord, C minor. Then if you take the 7th note and lower that a half step, that's a minor 7. So that's C minor 7. And of course, if you take this G, which is the 5th note, and you lower that, that's dominant 7, which is what we diminished. That's diminished 7, which is what we literally just got finished going over. And your dominant 7 chord is when you have your triad, C, E, G, and the only note that you lower a half step is the 7th note. So that means your dominant 7 would be C, E, G, and B flat. So we'll stick with just those chords for right now. Yesterday we did the extended chords, but again, C, E, G, that's C major. Okay, take the 3rd, lower it a half step. That's C minor now, right? C, E flat, G. That's C minor. Now, if you add the C, E, G, and B, that's C major 7, right? 1, 3, 5, 7. C major 7. Now, if you take the 3rd and lower that a half step, and you take, well, before I even do that, let's do this. Okay, C major 7. Now, if you take only the 7th note of the scale and you lower that a half step, that's called dominant 7. Don't get that confused. Dominant and diminished are 2 different words. They both start with the letter D. They're both long words. Don't get it confused like I did like a minute ago. So this is called dominant 7. Okay. Now, if you take the 3rd note and you lower that a half step, that's called minor 7. And if you take the 5th note and you lower it a half step, that's when you get your diminished 7. Now, sometimes when you're reading sheet music, or if you're reading a chord sheet, you'll see something that'll say C minor 7 flat 5. Okay. Now, when you see chords that says flat 5, like you'll see C, you'll see a lowercase m, then you'll see the number 7, and then all of a sudden you'll see a flat symbol next to that. All that means is that they want you to do a what that's called a half diminished chord. Okay, half diminished, also known as a flat 5. Okay, so in order to figure out the flat 5 chord, the first thing you want to do is play the minor 7 chord first, because it says C minor 7, right? Flat 5. So play your C minor 7 first. That will be C, E flat, G, and B flat. Then you take the 5th note. Hold on, did I do that right? Yeah, take the 5th note and you lower that a half step. Oh my goodness, I have to go back and correct something real quick. But anyway, for right now, so this is called C minor 7 flat 5. And let me correct one little thing that I just said. Okay, again, this is C minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so again, you have the 1, you have a minor 3rd, then you took the that perfect 5th, you lowered that a half step, and then you still have the minor 7 on top. So this is called, whenever you see something to say flat 5 on your chord sheet, this is C minor 7 flat 5. This is called half diminished. Now, to make this a fully diminished chord, you have to take this 7th that's already minor and you lower it another half step. Okay. Once you lower that, then that means this is going to be like, I guess you can call this B. Some people might call it B double flat, or you might just call it A. I really don't care what you call it, because we're just trying to get you to play the chord. This is actually the fully diminished chord. I apologize. I said something different earlier. This is your fully diminished chord. Okay. So again, let me review that again. Your C minor 7 chord is C. Then you take the 3rd, lower it a half step. So that's E flat. You play your perfect 5th. That's G. Then you play your B flat. That's your minor 7. Okay. Now, if you need to make this a flat 5 chord, you take the 5th, which is the G, and you lower it a half step. Now, once you do that, this is called half diminished, also known as C minor 7 flat 5. Now, if you need to do a fully diminished chord, you need to take that minor 7 that you're playing right here, the dominant 7, and you lower it another half step, bringing it down to B double flat, or some of you might just call it A. This is called a fully diminished 7 chord. Okay. You don't have to actually call it that. I'm just letting you know that technically that's what this is. This is a C fully diminished 7 chord. You can just say C diminished 7. That'll be fine. C, E flat, G flat, and B double flat or A. Okay. So those are the so that's your that's the difference between a half diminished chord and a fully diminished chord. A half diminished chord is when only is once you have the minor 7 chord, and then you only flatten that perfect fifth. When you lower that by a half step, then the chord becomes half diminished, also known as flat 5. Then when you take that dominant 7 that you're playing and you lower that down another half step, then it becomes fully diminished. Let's take a look at it in another key now. All right, that was in this key of C. Let's take a look at it in the key of F. So with F, let's go to the F major 7 chord first. The first note in the F scale is what? F. Duh, right? Your third note is going to be A. Your fifth note will be C. So that's your F major chord. And of course, to make it major 7, you have to play the 7th note of the scale, which will be what? E, right? Okay, so F, A, C, E. And most of you probably already know that spells face also, right? Okay, so you got your F major 7 chord. Now, let's make this a F minor chord first. Again, to make this a F minor chord, you're going to have to take the third note of the scale, which is A, and lower it a half step. When you do that, that's a F minor chord, right? F, A flat, and C. Now, let's go back to the major 7 chord again, F, A, C, E, okay? Major 7. Now, if you want to make this a dominant 7, not diminished, but dominant 7, you're going to take the 7th note, okay, the 7th note of the scale, and you lower that a half step. Okay, so this is called C dominant 7, okay? That's F, A, C, which is your major triad, and then you're putting a dominant 7 on top, okay? Some people might say flat 7, however you want to look at it. That's what you're doing, okay? You're taking the 7th and you're lowering the half step. Now, if you want to make this a minor 7, okay, all you have to do is take the third note of the scale, which is the letter A, and you lower that a half step. Okay, now you have a F minor 7. That's F, A flat, C, E flat, F minor 7. Now, if you're reading a chord sheet or you're looking at sheet music and it says to play a F minor 7 flat 5, aka half diminished, that means you have to take the 5th note of the scale. In this case, that will be C, and you lower that a half step. Okay, once you do that, now you have a F, a half diminished, 7th chord. That would be F, A flat, B natural, that's B as in book, and then E flat. Okay, so that is a F half diminished, also known as F minor 7 flat 5. And if you would like to make this fully diminished, you're going to take your dominant 7, which is this E flat, and you're going to lower that another half step and take it down to D. Once you do that, this is called a F diminished, fully diminished 7 chord, okay? F fully diminished 7 chord. All right, so again, F major, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, half diminished, fully diminished. Okay, I'll do it one more time just in case you need to see that again so that you don't have to rewind the video. Again, F major, that's F, A, C, F major 7, F, A, C, E. Now I'm going to take the 7th, lower it a half step. That's F dominant, okay? F dominant 7. Then I'm going to take this 5th, lower it. That's F minor 7, okay? Now half diminished, or you can call it flat 5. That means I'm going to take the 5th and flat it. Okay, so that's your half diminished. And then if I need to make it fully diminished, I'm going to take this dominant 7 and lower it another half step. And now I have a F fully diminished chord. Now I will pause for a second and ask, are there any questions about the chords that I just went over right now? The difference between dominant, are there any confusion between dominant 7, diminished 7, half diminished? If you have any questions, I'm looking over now. If not, we'll look at it in maybe another key or two, and then I'm going to jump over to the slash chords. Okay. Sammy, right now we're in the middle of a music lesson, so now I can't talk to you about that. This live stream is about the chords right now that we're focusing on right now. So now we can't do that right now. Any questions about what I just went over? Okay, no. Okay, if you do, just feel free to come in. Okay, let's take a look at it in one more key. Let's take a look at it in the key of A flat. Okay, first of all, you have to know your A flat. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. There is a question. Can you show us how to use these diminished chords? No, I'm not. No, we're not doing that right now. Right now, I just want people to just know what the chords are. Okay, right now, I don't want to jump into a whole bunch of other stuff. Right now, I'm just trying to teach people how to build chords. We can do other lessons in the future about how to use them and where to put them and all that stuff. But for right now, this series that I'm doing right now is all about just building the chords, being able to build the chord without having to run to a chord book all the time. You know what I'm saying? What if you're in a situation and you don't have your chord book with you? I'm trying to teach you how to just, build it yourself. That's all. What's going on, Ron? Okay, so let's take a look at the key of A flat. We're gonna go to the key of A flat. Okay, so first of all, you need to know what your A flat scale is. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, right? All right, so that's your A flat scale. Okay, now let's look at the F. I said F. A flat major chord, which is of course the 1, the 3, and the 5. Okay, so that would be A flat, C, and E flat. That's your A flat major chord. I think most of us know that. So let's move on. Okay, now if you want to do an A flat major 7 chord, all you have to do is to take the 7th note of the A flat major scale, which is G. Add that to the mix. Okay, so once you do that, now you have an A flat major 7. That's 1, 3, 5, and 7. All these are within the major scale. Okay, A flat C, E flat G. Now, if you need to play A flat dominant 7, not diminished, but dominant, if you want to make this a dominant 7 chord, what you're going to do is you're going to take this G, which is the 7th note, and you're going to lower it half step. Okay, that's the dominant 7. Okay, so when you do that, now you have a A flat dominant 7. Okay, so that's A flat, C, E flat. That's your basic triad, right? That's the A flat major chord. And then you're going to put the dominant 7 on top. Okay, that's called dominant 7. Now, if you need to make A flat minor 7, okay, to turn this dominant chord into a minor 7, all you have to do is take the 3rd note, which is C, and you lower it a half step. When you do that, that gives you B. Some people might say C flat, some people might say B, however you want to look at it. Okay, once you do that, excuse me, you now have an A flat minor 7. So that would be A flat, B natural, that's B as in busy, E flat, and G flat. Okay, that's your minor 7. Now, if you're looking at some type of chord sheet and it says that you need to play A flat minor 7 flat 5, that means you need to play a half diminished chord. That means you take the 5th. The 5th note of the scale is E flat, and all you have to do is do exactly what that chord says. If it says flat 5, then take the 5th and flat it by going down a half step. Once you do that, this is called half diminished. Okay, so now you got A flat, B as in busy, D as in door, and then you have G flat. That's half diminished. Now, if the song requires you to play a A flat diminished 7 chord, Now you're going to have to go to that dominant 7 that you're playing, which is G flat, and you're going to lower that another half step. Once you do that, you now have a A flat diminished 7 chord. That's going to be A flat, C flat, or some people say B, D as in door, and F. Okay. So again, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5, and then just fully diminished 7. Okay. I'm glad you appreciate the lesson, Bev T. I'm just trying to teach people how to build chords. That's what we're doing. Trying to teach y'all how to build your chords. Y'all really need to know these chords, especially if you don't want to have to try to memorize songs all the time, and you could just put a chord sheet in front of you to play it, which is what I do most of the time. This learning this stuff will make life easier for you. Okay. Usually I don't go to another key, but just for the fun of it, why not? We're going to do one more key. Let's do the key of G flat. Okay, just for the fun of it. Let's take a look at the key of G flat, and we're going to build all of our chords in G flat. G flat is also inharmonic to F sharp. So F sharp and G flat are the exact same notes, but I don't like using sharp names. I like using flat names. So we're going to call this G flat. Okay. And if you don't like it, go to somebody else's channel. Okay, so here we go. So let's take a look at the scale. You got G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat. Some people call that B, but technically, theoretically, you should call this C flat. That's D flat, E flat, F, and then you're back on G flat. So that's your scale. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, so let's look at our G flat major chord. Our G flat major chord is going to be the 1, the 3, and the 5. Okay, so that's G flat, B flat, B as in boy, D flat, D as in desk. Okay, that's our G flat major chord. Now to make this a major 7 chord, G flat major 7, you have to play the 7th note of the scale, which is F. Okay, all right, so that means that's G flat, B flat, D flat, and F. Now that's our major 7. But if the song requires you to play a G flat dominant 7, that means you're going to take this little major 7 and you're going to lower it a half step. Okay, once you do that, you now have a G flat dominant 7. Of course, you can call it F sharp dominant 7 too. That's, but again, we're going to look at the flat name. Okay, so that's dominant 7. Now, if the song is requiring you to play a minor 7 chord, then that just means you go to the 3rd note of the scale, which is B flat, and you lower it a half step. So that's B flat, lower it down to A, and now you have a G flat minor 7 chord. Okay. Now, if the song is requiring you to play a G flat minor 7 flat 5, that means you take the 5th note of the scale, which is D flat, and do exactly what it says. Play a flat 5. So flat it. So go down a half step. This is also known as half diminished. So that means you now have G flat, A, C, and E. All right. That's half diminished. And if the song is requiring you to play a fully diminished 7 chord, then that means you're going to go to the minor 7, which is E, and then you're going to lower that another half step. And voila, now you have a fully diminished G flat chord. Okay, so that would be G flat, A, C, and E flat. Okay, so taking a look at all of them quickly, here we go. That's major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, flat 5, fully diminished. Okay, the only one I skipped was just the regular G flat minor, which is, I think we know what that is already. Okay, so let's take a look at it one more time. G flat major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, flat 5, fully diminished. Okay. All right, I'm going to take a pause right here and ask: are there any questions? Is anyone confused with what I just went over? So far, we looked at we're just looking at building the chord from the major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, flat 5, fully diminished 7. Any questions with that? If not, I want to move on to slash chords real quick, and then after that, we'll be done. I'm gonna keep this lesson because yesterday my lesson took over an hour, and I'm like that might was a little too much. So, any questions? We're not going to take an hour because that could be too much information at one time. Any questions? I'm just giving about another 30 seconds to see if anyone has a question. If not, we're going to look at slash chords. We talked about slash chords a little bit yesterday. The question came up, and that's the reason why I said, well, let me talk about it again today. Some people said that they were one person, I can't remember who it was, said they get confused with slash chords. Slash chords are so easy. They really are. It's nothing to get nervous about or scared about. Okay. Is the third always flatted? The third is flatted when you're dealing with a minor. Once you go into the minor and diminished chords, yes, your third is always going to be flatted. The only time the third is not flatted is when you're doing a major chord, major 7, or dominant 7 chord. That's the only time when the third is not flatted. Let's take a look at C major for a second. If I play a C major chord, which everyone in this room should know already, C, E, G, right? The third is E. That's not flatted, okay? All right. Now, if I played a C major 7 chord, that's C, E, G, B. Once again, that the third is not flatted. Okay. Now, if I wanted to do a dominant 7 chord, the only note that's going to be flatted is the 7. So again, that third is not flatted. Okay. Those are probably, I think those are the only, with the chords that I just, went over, with all the chords that I went over this evening. Those are the only time that the third is not flatted. With every other chord, the third is flatted. So if you want to play a C minor chord, just a regular C minor chord, then you take the third and you lower it a half step. So that's a flatted third, okay? If you want to play a C minor 7, then you just add that minor 7, dominant 7 on top, however you want to look at it. And there you go. Now the third is flatted. If you want to do a C minor 7 flat 5, you take the 5th and you flat it. And yes, that your third is still flatted. And if you need to do a fully diminished chord, then you take that dominant 7, which is B flat, and you lower it again. And again, with that chord, your third is flatted. So to answer your question, the answer is no. You say, is the third always flatted? No, it's not always flatted. But it's flatted when you're doing the minor chord, when you're doing a minor 7 chord, when you're doing a flat 5 chord, and when you're doing a fully diminished chord. With those chords, it's flatted. But if it's just a major chord, major 7, or dominant 7, then the answer is no. It's not flatted. Okay. Good question. Okay, another question. Bev T said, the minor 7th always has the 7th. The minor 7 always have the 7th flattened. Yes, that is correct. If you're dealing with minor 7, yes, the 7th note will always be flat with minor 7. The 7th note is also flat when you're doing a dominant chord. When you're doing the dominant chord, it's flat. It's flat for minor 7. I just said that, didn't I? Okay. And it's and then technically the 7th is double flattened when you're doing the fully diminished chord. Okay. Fully diminished. For those of you, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of something being called double flat. Most people have heard of, you say the natural note, you might say B, and you say B flat, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's all I know. Well, technically, in theory, if you're trying to be 100% theoretically correct, there are times when you do not call this note A. Okay, you call this B double flat. Okay, so if you're looking at a fully diminished chord, let's look at the C chord one more time. Let's look at the minor 7. Okay, here we go. So here's C minor 7 flat 5. Okay, C, E flat, G flat, and B flat. Now to make this fully diminished, you're going to have to take the 7th note, which was the original note was B, right? When we're in the key of C, the original name of the note is called just B natural, right? Then we called it B flat. So you still have to keep the name B theoretically. Okay. So when you're making this a fully diminished chord, you still have to use the name B. So in this case, you would not call this A, you will call this B double flat. Now I'm talking about just in the theory, like if you're taking a theory class and you want to pass your test. Now, I'm not saying that in your head, if you're playing with a band or whatever, and you just think of that as A, you're fine. Good. No problem. Do your thing. But I'm just saying, if you want to be theoretically correct, you would actually call this B double flat. Okay. But to go back to the basic answer, yes, the 7th is always minor. You can also technically call that dominant. When you flat the 7, it becomes the dominant 7. So, yes. Okay. Any other questions? Those were 2 good questions. Thank you, Bev T. Thank you, D. Scroggins, for your questions. Are there any other questions? If not, we will quickly look at the slash chords. And I'm going to educate y'all on those. And yes, I said educate on purpose. I know that's not a real word. Relax. Okay, I don't see any other questions for right now. Okay. All right. So real quick, we looked at this again yesterday. Sometimes when you're reading sheet music and you're looking at the chords like I do, usually if I'm looking at sheet music, I'm really not looking at the grand staff. If they have the chords on top of it, I'm usually just looking at the chords because I'm lazy like that. But I'm just saying, sometimes you'll see a chord and it'll say, you'll see something that looks like this. Me type it on the screen just in case. I don't know. Just give you an example. You might see something that says this. Something like that. You'll see a C/E. And you might say, what the world? What the world does that mean? Okay. It's real simple. Whatever is written to the left of the slash, right? You got your slash, right? Am I doing it right? It goes like it goes like that, right? Okay. You got your slash. Whatever you see on the left of the slash is what your right hand is supposed to play. So think opposite, okay? I know that kind of doesn't make sense, but whatever's on the left side of the slash, that's what you're playing with your right hand. And then whatever is on whatever letter or note name you see on the right of the slash, that's what your left hand is playing. So think backwards with this, okay? Think backwards. So if you see C/E, that means with your right hand, play a C major chord. C, E, G, and you can do it in any inversion, but I'll just keep it simple. We'll do it in the root position. C, E, G. And all that means is with my left hand, play an E. There we go. That's all it is. It's that simple. It's like I don't even really have to go that deep into it. That's all that means when it says to play a slash chord. Okay, so that's C over E. Okay. You might see something that says this. Typing it on the screen now for you. Okay, that means the same thing. You might see F/A. So the left is that F is telling you to play F major with your right hand. And then that A means play it with an A in the bass. Okay. A lot of times when you see the slash chords, it comes right after the root chord. So let's say you see something that says F, and then the next chord will say F over A. Right, you might see something like this on one. If you purchase one of my chord sheets or something like that, you might see that. So that means you'll play that like this. You'll say F over A. You know what I'm saying? And usually the next thing you go to will be like the 4, which is B flat. I'm just saying that's just commonly used in music. Again, F major, F over A, then you can go to the 4 and do it again. You know, some people like, I know the question came up, like, can you talk about how to use these notes or whatever? Well, that's one way those slash chords are used. It's usually used right after the root chord. One more example, and like I said, this is just easy. I'm just giving another example just to be thorough. You might see something that says A flat slash C. Okay, that A flat means to simply play an A flat major chord with your right hand. So that's A flat C E, and with your right hand you play C. Okay, that's all it is. That's all that means. So you might have something where it says play A flat first and then play A flat over C. So you'll go, you know what I'm saying? And then you might go to the 4, A flat over C to the 4. All right, so okay, that's it. Now, are there any questions on the slash chords? Like I said, that's really simple. That's easy. Let me see. I have sometimes slash chords are used to create a bass movement. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, what I literally just did just now was a bass movement. With like when I said F major, F over A. That's all that really is. It's really just the bass movement, and what you're doing is you're following what the bass is doing. Okay, so it's still like an F major chord. But the composer just wanted the bass to move. So they'll tell the piano player, hey, do this because I got the bass player doing it. So you just follow the bass player. And then, like I said, usually you go to the 4. I'm just saying, not all the time, you know, a composer can do whatever they want to do. But I'm just saying it's common to go from that, and then you land on the 4. Any questions about slash chords? I'll wait a couple of seconds, and if not, then this will be the end of the theory lesson for today. See, I didn't take as long as I did yesterday. Yesterday, man, I was doing this for like 5 hours, man. Just giving everybody a chance to type something. Hopefully, these lessons on how to build chords will really help you. It's going to really benefit you if you really learn how to do that. And of course, what's that important thing that I tell y'all about building chords? The first thing you need to know is your scales. All 12 major scales. Know those scales first. Once you know the scales, building the chords, it's not that hard. You just got to know the formula for each chord. You know, each type of chord, all you have to do is know the formula. Okay, what do you mean by coming on the 4 at the end of the slash? Okay. All right, we're going into the number system. That's a number system question. I probably will go deeper into the number system on Saturday's live, but I'll explain what I mean because that's a good question. Okay, I'm sure most of you, if you're on here and you've been typing in trying to learn how to play the piano and you do YouTube searches and you always see stuff about the number system, know the number system, know the number system. Here's a very, very watered down introduction to the number system real quick. Going back to the key of C because everybody understands C off the back, okay? When you're dealing with the key of C major, C is known as the 1, okay? And then each note after that, of course, the number just goes up by 1. So if C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that 4 because that's what your question is. You say what is meant by the 4, but for right now, let me just finish. G will be the 5, A is the 6, B is the 7, and then once you're back at C again, you're back on 1. And if you're doing extended chords, then you will keep going and say 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. And like I said, you don't even use all those numbers. I just called them out just for the sake of it. Okay. Now, when you're doing the number system, sometimes you might do a song and the band might be playing something at church and they'll tell you, man, we're in the key of C and we're just doing 1, 4, 5. That's all we're doing. 1, 4, 5 and go back to the 1. Okay. And you're looking at the guy like, what are you talking about? 1, 4, 5, 1. Okay. All that means is that if you're in the key of C, your 1 is going to be C major. Okay, so that's your C major, right? Because C is the 1, right? And usually with the Nashville number system, whatever the 1 is, you play it as a major chord. Okay. Now, the 2 in the key of C will be the letter D. With the Nashville number system, 2 is usually played as a minor chord. Okay. So that means if you were required to play a 2, you would play D minor as opposed to D major. Okay. So again, with the number system, 1 is normally major. Your 2, you play it as a minor chord. That would be D minor. Your 3 is normally played as a minor chord also. That will be E minor. Okay, that's usually your 3. Then when you play your 4, that's usually played as a major chord. When you're dealing with triads, Then when you play the 5th note will be G, right? So they'll say perfect 5th, whatever. You usually play a major chord with that. Then if they're telling you to play the 6, that means usually you're playing the minor. So 6 is A, so that means your minor will be A minor. Okay, and if they're telling you to play a 7, usually you will play your 7 as a diminished chord. So that would be B diminished. Okay, this is B major, right? B, D sharp, F sharp is major. So when you take the 3rd and lower it a half step, that becomes B minor. And when you take this F sharp and lower it a half step, that's called diminished. That's not diminished 7. That's just diminished. Okay, diminished, and then you're back on the 1 again. So the Nashville number system will be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so what do I mean about go to the 4? Okay, if we're in the key of F major, which is what I was referring to when I said go to the 4, okay, that when you're playing F, that's called the 1. Okay, and usually I say when you do that slash chord, all they're doing is taking the 1 and they're making the bass. They just playing the 3, but you're still playing the 1 with your right hand. So you 3, and then usually it's common to go to the 4 chord. Well, what is the 4 chord in F major? F is 1, G is 2, A is 3, B flat will be 4. So that's what I meant by go to the 4. Okay, so usually you'll have the 1, and then you'll put that over the 3rd, then to the 4. So that's what that is what is meant when I say the 4. Okay, that means go to the 4th note. And remember, I said earlier that usually when you go to the 4, you're supposed to play it as a major chord. Okay, so let's take a look at that in the key of C. If we're in the key of C major and you play the 1, C major, then you take your left hand and you just play the 3rd with your left hand. Then you go to the 4. What's the 4th note in the key of C? C, D, E, F, right? And you're supposed to play your 4 as major. So that's what I mean by going to the 4. So it'll be 1, then over the 3rd. I'm sorry, I played the wrong chord. Oh my goodness, we did it again. 1, and then over the 3rd, and then you go to the 4. So that's what I mean when I say go to the 4. Don't that sound like a song right now? I guarantee you there's probably about 10,000 songs in the world right now that start with that progression right there. It'd be like, and then do that same progression again. 1, and put your bass over the 3rd to the 4. Then go to the minor 6, major 5 to the 4, the minor 6, 5 to the 4, and then go back to the 1, over the 3, go to the 4, 1, bass over the 3 to the 4, and then go to the minor 6. Let me come down here. There we go. Down to the 5, 4, the minor 6, 5, 4. And then you can end the song with doing 2, 5, 1. Now, honestly, I promise you, I'm thinking, I was just making it up as I go. But that's how a lot, especially the praise and worship songs in CCM churches and stuff, usually they're made up just as simple as that, just doing the basic number systems like that. But hopefully that answered your question about what did I mean by going to the 4. I know it was kind of more detailed than I wanted to go into, but I'll go into it more on Saturday, the number system. But that's what is meant by going to the 4. Yes, Gerald says, when you say number system, what you really mean is the scale degree. Yes, exactly. English boy, you said sometimes you'll see C over GC. I guess I don't usually see stuff like that, but I guess that means play a C major with your right hand and GC on the left hand. I guess. That's not usually how I see slash chords written, so I will humbly admit I don't know. I'm only guessing with that one. ST said, let me put it on the screen so we can read what people are saying. ST said, a trick I use to remember any major chord is to sing Kumbaya in any key. If it sounds like Kumbaya, that is a major chord, 1, 3, 5. And then from there, you can transform it into other chords. Okay. Interesting way. I've definitely never done it that way, but interesting. Great lesson. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Nelson said Kurt Carr has a song using this progression. Man, it's not just Kurt Carr, man. You probably can name almost every composer in the world got a song with the progression. Okay, ST also said the 7th is always the key directly to the left of the 1. Of course, that's very true. I agree. Because that's a fact. But played an octave higher unless you play an inversion. Of course, yes, yeah. If you're doing inversion, then that doesn't count. The 3 only left hand moves, right stays the same chord. I have no idea what you're asking now. So you said the 3 only the left hand moves, right stays the. I don't understand your question. Now, saying I'm sorry. You have to retype it. I don't understand your question. What an answer. Thank you. I know, right? A really deep answer, right? I really went deep. Were there any other questions? Any other questions? So again, this evening, we went over half diminished chords, fully diminished chords. And then we looked at the slash chord. So that's what I'm taking questions on. Any questions on half diminished, fully diminished, and slash chords? If not, then we're going to move back over to the panel. And if there's anybody that's in the chat room that has a link and want to hop on the panel, now would be the time, because we're about to move from the theory lesson and we're going to talk about this Clark sister movie again, because we got Drea. She's still here too. I can see her backstage. She's sitting there chilling like, I'm ready, Richard. Let's go. Let's do this. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera around and we're going to move on. Move on. Give me a second to click this. Oh, there go my big head. Let me get my big head out the way. There you go. Put your lovely faces there to cover my head. All right. Okay, welcome back. glad y'all stuck around.
Oh, that was a great lesson.
Oh, thank you. I know I get long-winded, but I try to make sure people understand, so
very well done.
Well, thank you. That means a lot coming from another music major. Appreciate that. Nathan said thanks, because people always teach chords but not how to use them. I'm assuming that meant how. Well, yeah, I know someone asked earlier about that, so that's why I just went head on and just kind of just did that. But we'll probably look into the number system a little bit more, like really go into the number system. That was just like a quick little overview right there. But okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Drea, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. So we're going to start off with you. What do you want to? And you can choose where you want to start. What are your thoughts about Maddie Moss and the Clark sisters?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I just really enjoyed the movie, and I was not prepared for how I wasn't prepared for the emotional response that I was going to have. Like I was like crying on various parts of the movie. And part of it is just not because of the story itself. Excuse me, my family talking in the background. They haven't
ain't nobody worried about that.
Okay.
Ain't nobody. I wish somebody would say something.
I know. My husband too. I want you to meet my husband, Rich.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of him for years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would love to meet him. Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna bring him over here in a minute.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I was very emotional watching it, and I was like, "Goodness, why am I so emotional listening to this story?" And I don't know their life story. That was the first time I had really learned anything about their life story, other than little things you had heard about, the sisters and the little family feuds that float around. That that's none of my business. I don't care nothing about. But just seeing their story and the connection that I had with, I just felt I saw myself a lot in the story. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. No, in what ways? You said you saw yourself.
I felt like they're just telling a story that's very common to a lot of Black women who have grown up in any kind of religiously influenced environment. Now, I was not raised Kojic, and basically from my parents' generation on out, my family is kind of like church rejects. But both of my parents were raised in, my mother was raised strict apostolic, which is, if most people, anybody on your stream know, apostolic is worse than Kojic, much more strict. Okay. So I could relate to that because, especially the scene when I think it was Denise. No, it wasn't Denise. It was Jackie came to the house with some pants on.
Yeah, we talked about it. So, and then her mother had to sniff to see if she was smoking reefer, because if you're wearing pants, you must be smoking that reefer.
Oh my goodness. I can tell you story after story about how, the denomination that my mom came from, it just was not accepted. And my great-grandmother was a devout apostolic believer. And so I couldn't go to her house with pants on. I could not do it. It's just, it wasn't allowed. We wore pants. Go out and play. We wore pants anywhere else. But when we went to my great-grandmother's house, we were visiting her church, pants was out. So the, that part resonated with me. Another thing that resonated with me was, and this is kind of hard to talk about, is the juxtaposition of musical excellence with emotional abuse from your mentors and teachers. It's something that a lot of us have experienced, and we joke about it and we say, "Oh, we survived it. It made us better."
We talk about that with Dr. Carter.
Exactly. We went to that. He's from Selma. I think Dr. Maddie Moss Clark was from Selma, right?
I'm not sure exactly where she was from.
I think either they had the same hometown or she originates from Alabama. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody in the stream help me with that. But I think that a lot of great musicians have experienced, a lot of musicians. It's not just a Black thing. It's not just a religious thing. A lot of people who have been trained in any form of musical discipline have come under very harsh tutors. And, you look at the Clark sisters and you say, but look at the result. They are legendary. They're excellent. Twinkie's like a musical genius on the organ. Karen's like a musical genius with the vocals. But their mom was throwing shoes at people. And so and she's I don't want to say worshipped, but she's idolized. She's an icon.
Right. We talked about that shoe thing yesterday. Like, I mean, that girl deserved it though. She's sitting there chewing gum. I mean, she was chewing like a horse though. And she was off key. But yeah, I mean, it still was.
She was really, really off. And I mean, I've heard a lot of different comments about people saying, well, that's old school. That's how it was. And I know that there's a cultural context that goes with that. But I really think that what a lot of people have experienced at, as the price that they paid to learn discipline was emotional abuse. And sometimes, in some cases, physical if you got hit with a shoe.
Right.
So it doesn't take away from her genius. After the movie, I went back and listened through, the catalogs and things that I had access to, things that I had grown up listening to, and brought tears to my eyes because this is the stuff you grow up listening to. And even though my parents kind of backslid and didn't stay in church, they had a lot of I was exposed to gospel regularly. And and I didn't grow up Kojic at all, but I was always exposed to good music and people from various denominations. And so the Clark sisters, the Pace sisters, the Williams brothers, there's lots of different examples of Mighty Clouds of Joy. It's a lot of great examples of groups that came from those eras. So yeah, that part struck me. I'm trying to think of one more thing that struck me.
What about the selling of the catalog when Twinkie sold her catalog?
Oh yeah, that was just a bonehead move. Her mother was right about that.
Yeah, she sure was.
Yeah.
But she wanted a Lincoln dress. She just wanted a nice car to drive.
I mean, but I analyzed that, and I wanted to keep in mind too that this is a dramatization, so there's probably a whole lot of stuff. Maybe not that part, but there's probably a lot of details that were exaggerated just to tell a good story. Mm-hmm. But the sense that I got was that the Clark sisters, as little girls, and maybe even a little bit as adults, they were an extension of their mother's identity. All of them. And that's why the older sister was trying to break away so much and find her own identity, because the whole gang of them didn't really have their own identity. They were Maddie's daughters. They were almost like, and a lot of people say that's a symptom of narcissism, when your children aren't allowed to be their own person, but they're just an extension of your identity, that's kind of like not healthy. So I was just looking at that aspect of it and just wondering, wow, what a price to pay for greatness. They definitely are legendary and great, and we've all emulated. I wanted to be Twinkie Clark, and I mean, totally loved Karen's voice and all of that stuff. Dorinda, love her voice. I wish I could emulate Dorinda, but I can't. She's the bomb.
Yeah.
But I always look at the price that people pay to achieve what they have or get what they have. And, I feel like all of them pay some sort of price to get what they got. And I just wish that gifts like that could be expressed without all of the other baggage that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't say that to say like, I appreciate that they told of, I'll say they told the story from their perspective. There was some backlash from Denise's older son about the way they portrayed her.
Okay.
And I don't know if she made any comments about it, but I know her oldest son was on social media saying, making a few comments saying that she wasn't portrayed fairly. So it wasn't really a fair portrayal in everybody's eyes, but I feel like they did make some efforts to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if it wasn't totally fair, I feel like they at least tried to be kind of fair in the way they told the story. They didn't spin it like all glory,
Hey,
right.
How y'all doing?
All right, James, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. What's going on?
Not much. Nathan wanted me to share a picture that he has with, I think that's Dorinda, isn't it? This Nathan Nelson and Dorinda. He wanted me to show this to y'all.
Oh, that's so.
He just want us to know that hey, I met her. Now I'm better than all y'all because I know Dorinda. You got her number and everything, right?
Right.
No, they definitely.
And Andrea, you was right. According to Google, she is from Selma, Alabama.
Yeah. So when I heard that part that she's from Selma, I'm like, that explains a lot. That's how our college choir director Did I?
Yeah, he was from Alabama, right? Yeah.
That's
He was from Selma. Right, the same place. Right.
that's not just an Alabama school thing. It's just the way that she acted. Period. Anybody that's over 40 knows that that type of discipline that we grew up on when our parents were kids. You know, their discipline was you do what you was told. You don't ask no questions whatsoever. So it don't shock me when Maddie got her kids. You know what I'm saying? Her though, like, and she said it at the end of the movie. She said, "I did the best that I knew how for what I was taught to do, which is you do what I tell you to do." And you know she. So I don't. I truly believe that the sisters kind of did throw Denise under the bus because they could have easily said, you know, "Hey sis, would you like to give?" But I have this impression that the sisters don't talk like that to her for whatever particular reason.
Well, we can see what some of the reason would be. I mean, look how she acted at the funeral. I'm sure
Yeah,
that wasn't
but at the end of
far
the day,
fetched. You know,
but
they
it,
probably could
but,
not believe that they
but
did that at the
yeah,
funeral. You know,
yeah,
yeah,
but
that might be
that
hard
was
to
a
take.
build up. But that was a build up for many years, and the girls in that documentary all admitted that their poo poo stank like everybody else. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you're not gonna put your own demons and your own skeletons in the movie, then why throw your sister under there like that? I mean, particularly, I mean, but at the end of the day, you know that all of y'all had y'all issues because of what Miss Maddie did, you know, to piggyback on what she was saying. And like she said, when you're pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, are you not shocked that at some point uh, a child is going to rebel? You know what I'm saying? Or going to go away from the opposite of what you're saying because after a while it's like you can continue to push, and if you push too much, then yes, they're going to rebel because it's like, dude, like you gotta let me breathe. You got to, yeah. I mean, so I mean, I can't. I'm not mad at Denise or none of the sisters because I can understand. What do you always say? Preachers' kids are the what?
They are PKs.
Hey,
They're angels. Yeah, they're
yeah,
angels.
and it's for
Yeah, PK kids. Yeah, they're angels.
don't get me
They do
wrong.
nothing wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like their parents are trying to portray something, and it's like they don't want to leave no room for mistakes. Like even the Bible said, "Look, you're not going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that you're not living Christ-like, but you're going to mess up. You're going to do fault." But see, when you got people, some people in the church who have this idea thing of they're perfect. You know, they're living certain lives, but they don't look at the small details that can easily, you know what I'm saying. So therefore, they feel like they may feel inferior, and it's like, okay, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, and there's no room for no sort of mistake. It's like, and that's just unrealistic. People make mistakes. People are going to make wrong decisions. People are not going to always do the right thing. That doesn't. I mean, but if God was the way that He was, boy, none of us are going to heaven if He judged us on some of the decision makings that we've done over our lives. I know mine. So, but yeah, exactly.
Yesterday I brought up, and I think a couple of other people brought up too. It's interesting the similarities with the Clarks and the Jacksons, and they all came up at the same time. They started in the late 60s and the 70s, and I'm like,
Right.
isn't it interesting that they both had a slave driver leading, guiding them? I'm like, it's interesting. Two different styles of music too,
And
gospel
notable.
and R&B. What you
Both
say?
families come from strict religious backgrounds.
Right.
Right.
Jehovah Witness and then Koji.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But I
what was your
do
thoughts
want
when
to
what
know
was your thoughts
exactly
when you
what
saw Maddie Moss sitting in front of all the bishops, Andrea, after the Grammy performance?
Oh, okay. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I was another reason why I connected with this story and was glad that they highlighted that in particular is because the story unearths or I don't want to say reveals because everybody already knows it, but it just reveals that there is there's an embedded sexism in the church that there's a lot of oppression of women in a lot of religious denominations, unfortunately. And the panel of bishops speaks for itself because they were all men. And so that tells you right there that they have this belief that only men can be leaders in the church. So, and the woman can be the musician, of course. So the highest she could get was she would be the top musician in that denomination. And that's pretty prestigious in Kojic. To become their international minister of music, that's a pretty prestigious position. Right. But if you're a woman, that's as far as you'll ever go. You'll never be like in a bishop's position, and you're always going to be under the authority of the men. So that highlighted the sexism, and I know the surface reason for them silencing her was because she was being worldly, but I think the real reason was because she was going to be bigger than them.
Was she really being worldly? Because it was gospel music that she was singing, and just like she said, aren't we supposed to take gospel music out? Or the message of the gospel, I should say. Aren't we supposed to take that out? And I'm like, good point. That's all she did.
Organized religion is not about spreading the gospel. It's about power.
Right. And
that's exactly what I was just saying. Right. That holiness church, they weren't trying to once they became holy, sanctified, and saved, it's like they forgot how they got there. So the people that need it, they look down upon. Yeah, that's what they're saying. So it's like, yeah, we don't want you to spread the word. We just want you to be, like she said, controlled. That was probably what led to Maddie's frustrations in her marriage and stuff like that, because there was a bunch of men in the church that was just so dominating, and Maddie, with her personality, you know what I'm saying, you could tell she's that way. So when you put two alpha males, alpha people together, right, you're gonna have a right. It's gonna be a clash like no other, right? When two alphas meet. And so it's like with her, and you could tell she wanted so bad to show that she could be just as dominant as they could, but she never got that chance. And it just kind of, I think, it spilled over to her girls, because it was nothing that she could really do. Because the niece's son made that clear that that part of the movie where she addressed that, she said his grandma, she would have never done that in real life. She said she was that devoted. Now I'm just going by what he said, that she was so devoted.
Yeah.
That behind closed doors she felt that way to family, people that she trusted, but she would never personally go tell the church that. I'm like, because they threw me all the way out.
Another thing that struck me too. Now, do y'all remember the scene early on in the movie where Maddie was about to go do a conference, and her and her husband got into an argument? He told her that she was being ambitious, and it kind of spilled over into the thing where he ended up hitting her, whatever. Yeah. So I wrestled with two things, because all right, so I wrestled with the sexism of him requiring her to be his first lady, and her identity being just an extension of who he is, instead of her having her own identity as a music minister or musician or whatever it is she wanted to be. I had it with that. But then I did also have the question of, how appropriate is it for people who are serving Christ to have this unrelenting ambition for success? So it was kind of two things I was wrestling with, just, not answers, but just thinking about those kind of things. Because
he looked at her, but I think that's what, like you said, that's frustrated Maddie, because he didn't look at her as an equal. He looked at her as, hey, I am top dog, and you do as I say, or there's nothing. He didn't treat her with respect. He didn't treat her with kindness. He didn't. He looked at her work and what she was doing as inferior, And you know what I'm saying? What he does,
but not uncommon for the time frame though.
Right,
That this was in.
But I also think he looked at her as, and you need to be with me because she was so popular anyway. So of course, if she was doing more things with him, that would make him more successful too. So I think he was coming from that angle too. Like, hold up,
right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you need to be with me. You're my wife.
Yeah.
And you know, and that will build him up because of course he wants to be built up and sitting on top. And,
Which I
you know,
think
the Maddie Moss Clark, this is my wife.
there you go. And I think
that has
that
something to do with
also
it, too.
made Maddie upset because it's like, you want me to do all this for you, but then when I tell you that I'm trying to build something up for your girls where we can be just as important together, it ain't nothing. And that could have caused some bitterness, which I know it should have. Because it's like
I think the argument was is that she was getting paid to go out and do
She said this pays the bills. That's what she
yeah. So she was going out paying the bills. I don't think that was about success. And be honest with you, for her to be getting paid and able to use that as an income back then, that's amazing.
That was progressive back then. That was that's a big deal.
Real big
I
deal.
think that's why he said that she was just being too ambitious. You know what I'm saying? I do remember that part where she's taking care of the house. So what is he complaining about?
Yeah, we got 5 kids.
You ain't gonna try to do it. See, he wanted to play what I call pretend man. In other words, you ain't making no money, but you think you man of the household. Meantime, the real breadwinner is sitting up here trying to make it do what they do, and then on top of that, you got the nerve to talk smack, talking about you need to be such and such Negro when you bring in as much money as you are in my household, then we can talk. Till then, I got to make that paper. And I was with on that one. I got to make that paper. We got how many kids they had? 5, 6, 5, 5, right?
Yes, I believe it's 5.
Well, they had a brother too. There was a brother.
Like food.
There's a brother, right?
Shoot.
Am I wrong? Sorry.
Deke asked an interesting question yesterday, saying, like, what do you is it wrong to shelter people that much? If you look at the Clark sisters, they were so sheltered that we kind of discussed this yesterday. What's your thoughts, Drea, James? 112, if you want to say something, because Ron and I, we kind of said our piece yesterday, but is it wrong to be that sheltered? Because clearly they were so sheltered that you had Denise, that when she finally got a little taste of freedom, boom, she's getting pregnant and doing all this stuff. As soon as Twinkie got a little freedom from her mother, she goes and sells her rights and gets a car. It's like it was, and we say that some of that had to have been probably because they were so sheltered that once they got a little taste of freedom, they didn't even know how to handle the world. In my opinion, I think there's a such thing as being too sheltered. But what's your thoughts on that? Either one of you.
I can go first now. See, I do believe there is such a thing as being too sheltered, but I question whether any PK has ever been really that sheltered.
Right.
And I say that because it doesn't mean they don't have a sense of naivety. But as far as being sheltered, when I think of sheltered, I think overly protected. And so when I look at a young woman who has 7 kids, I'm guessing out of wedlock, I don't know. And it emanates from having a conflictual relationship with the parent. The first thing I'm thinking is this a survival of sexual trauma, and is she just acting out? And or has she been abused by clergy people, and has it been covered up? And is she now the scapegoat? So I wonder how much sheltering was really done. That's the first thing. But and the other thing is, being PKs and being part of that prestigious denomination and being high up in it, there's no way in the world you can tell me they wasn't seeing stuff they wasn't supposed to see, that they weren't hearing stuff that they weren't supposed to hear. No child who witnesses their mom get beat down is a sheltered child. That's not what I call sheltered. They saw a lot of stuff. Now, and their mom tried to prepare them for things, but I think that there still was a lot of naivete there. There was a lot of things that they needed to learn. And just like the rest of us, you know what I'm saying? I mean, she was still pretty young when she made that mistake. But the truth of the, and they got famous early. So I don't know if I would have handled that any better. And I know for a fact I wasn't sheltered. So I don't know. I do think it is, you shouldn't overly shelter your children, but I'm not sure they would fit that description.
I kind of mentioned that yesterday too about the shelter. I said because you got Denise that was going out here having children left and right. So
Yeah.
I did kind of say, well, I guess they weren't all that. Thoughts, James? Oh, there she
Yeah.
go.
Huh?
I said, go ahead, James. It's time to
No. My thing is this. I think what it was with Twinkie, Maddie had the one thing that her and Joe definitely had, that sense of fear. Most of her life, she put that fear in her kids. So you could tell that Twinkie had what's it called? Self-esteem issues, real bad self-esteem issues, which I think kind of led to the things that you saw. You know, it's like she always listened to her mama. She never questioned her mama. She never, asked any questions. What mama said went. And she did that for so long. And so I understood. I get that it was the craziest thing in the world, but when you put that sort of fear, when you push like that to someone who has a low self esteem, then I'm not shocked at what Twinkie did when she tried to sell her catalog because Twinkie had no idea how the music business worked clearly, and that had she understood about publishing and her song and her catalog and understood that the girl had enough money to buy 9 Cadillac dealerships at that time. But again, when you instill that fear and you instill that discipline and you continuously treat your adult kids like your adult, yeah, while your kids are adults and you still treat them like kids, then this is the prime result. I mean, look at what Joe did to the Jacksons for the longest time. That's why the brothers were trying to get married left and right once they was old enough because
They
they
was trying to get away from Joseph, just like Twinkie had to get away from Maddie because Maddie was like this with her. Because remember, they said that Twinkie was with Maddie even when she was 9 years old. Anywhere that Maddie had to go, any type of conference or convention, I guess even if the other sisters weren't there, Twinkie was there because she had to play the piano. You know what I'm saying? And that's what she told her mother. Her mother said, "Well, you're not supposed to serve me. You're supposed to serve God." And Twinkie was like, "I don't know the difference." I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Wow." She was like, "I don't know the difference. I don't know the difference." I'm like, "Yeah, that means she really had a tight rein on her."
That's what happens when you disrespect your kids for so long, and then you got one that has low self esteem to the point where, like you said, she didn't know who she was for the longest time, and it took her that long. That's why I'm not shocked that Denise did what she did. I think Denise did what she did because she was saying, "Look, you're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. You're not gonna mind manipulate me." That type of stuff leads to that because when you got somebody trying to mind manipulate you, that's what it leads to sometimes. And it's like with Twinkie, it took her that long. It took her doggone what in her late 30s or 40s to finally stand up to her mom and say, "Enough. I need to find out who I am. I have got to know who I am." And for so long, I have been so afraid to tell you exactly how I feel. I've done everything you've asked me to all this time, and it builds up to that moment. So now Miss Maddie's looking at, but I don't think Miss Maddie's not shocked because, like she said in the beginning, I did the best that I know how. She couldn't give those feelings of affection like she should have towards her kids, but she only knew tough discipline, so it led to that conclusion. I mean,
and she showed there were scenes in the movie where they showed her being not affectionate, but more soft-hearted towards I think it was Twinkie. I don't know if y'all remember, but I think it was in the church scene. I think this might have been at the point where she was getting ill. Somebody help me out. She told her something like, "No matter what you do, you'll always be my heart," or something like that.
Yeah, because that was almost like her playing favorites. Someone said that earlier in the chat that Maddie played favorites, and I think that's what that person meant. Like it's almost as if Twinkie was her favorite. That's because Twinkie went everywhere. You know, I'm assuming even when the other sisters wasn't going, and Twinkie was there. And Twinkie was just like, I need a break from you, Mom. That was the reason why she went to North Carolina with a dude that pushed her mother. I'm like, this dude pushed her mother down, and she still went. I just knew she wasn't going to go. Once he did that, I knew she wasn't going to go.
You know that, right?
What you say?
I don't know if that's true. Like a lot of the story that happened.
Yeah, it's a movie. Yeah, I get it.
Is saying that didn't happen. Like they were saying that part didn't necessarily happen, and they were saying that the part when Denise bust into you can't bust into your own mother's funeral. That's your mother's funeral.
Right.
So they said that didn't go down like that. She was on the program and everything. So I get what you're saying, though. Yeah.
Well, let me say this. Denise's son clarified that scene. And he kind of it's kind of true, but not in the way the movie portrayed it, like y'all said. According to him, that the mom was trying to grab Twinkie. That was the right thing. And at the time, I think Miss Maddie had someone else in the house. So I could have sworn he said his uncle, which could have been a new husband. I'm not sure if she ever got married. But between the four of them, there was a big old struggle. And the boy was trying to just get his wife, and doing so, I guess he tripped or he got off balance and kind of leaned into her mama, which she ran and fell into the steps. So I said, well, that's possibility. When you got four people wrestling with one another and all, something liable to just go down and you know what I'm saying. And you know, it wasn't, but he did say his uncle in no shape or form purposely wanted to push Twinkie mom. But me personally, like Richard said, me and him last night, I said it would have been a divorce and murder.
Well, no, it wouldn't have been a divorce. There's no need for divorce. You just murder.
Right.
You murder, the marriage is over with anyway. Just like, dude, you just pushed the mother down. Have you lost your mind? No divorce needed. You just murder, you know, because till death do us part.
Till we part, right?
But yeah,
another thing that was sad to me about the narrative is that you could tell from the way this story was portrayed that Maddie wanted all of her daughters to grow up and marry well. And I think she was highly disappointed that Twinkie did not. You know what I'm saying? Like strong-willed and type A alpha female type woman. She was the type of woman who still believed in women. She believed in the doctrines of her church. It was evident to me that she did want to be a good wife, and she wanted her daughters to grow up and be good wives and marry good husbands. But it just doesn't seem like that was coming to fruition for her, at least in the story of Twinkie.
Yeah, but I think Miss Maddie, as she got older, started, you know, realizing some of the mistakes that she done by looking at some of the decision making that her daughters was doing. Because I don't think the Maddie of that time would have been trying to beg Twinkie to stay in her younger days when she was healthy and strong, and you know what I'm saying. But as she got older and she was dealing with her diabetes and everything, and you know, she was really showing emotion, because through the whole entire movie, you didn't really see much emotion from Miss Maddie like that until closer to the end of her life.
Right. Then exactly. And she had time to reflect. When she had time to reflect.
Right. And then she was like, you know, for her to, because I can understand, because she was right about the husband that she was with. That dude won't no good. And if you're a parent, I'm pretty sure you would do whatever you have to try to do what you can to keep your son or daughter on and making the worst decision of their lives.
My mother tried to keep me from marrying the woman that I did. And you see that marriage barrel didn't even, man, my marriage didn't even last 3 years.
Hey, that's a whole nother topic.
Well, I won't say she tried to stop it. I'm not going to say she tried to stop it, but I will say that I could definitely tell. Yeah, I could definitely tell she was just like this. But son, you do what you want to do. But it was like and my mama was right. She was right. I married her in 2015, and I was moving out in 2017. So yeah. So
you know what?
Yeah, but some of us, but we think we know everything. You know what I'm saying? Well, I was in my late 30s at the time. I was like 37 years old when I got married. Right. Man, I'm thinking. Talking about, I know what I'm talking about.
And
sometimes you're still dumb. I don't care how old you are. Sometimes you're still dumb.
Amen to that. Amen. And look, cuz if your Aunt Barbara would have saw you as soon as you moved back, she would say it right. Now, what did we learn?
For those of you who don't know, this loves to sing. This is actually my biological cousin, y'all. So this my biological cousin from North Carolina. So that's why. Yeah, he's saying Aunt Barbara. Aunt Barbara is his mother, which would be my aunt, of course. So,
okay.
Yeah. Just in case anybody didn't know, that's his mother and my mother's sister. So I guess that means we cousins. So, yeah.
And look, right. Don't tell them that, right?
Ron, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say I really think Maddie done the best that she could and the best that she knew how. I don't know. When we get older, we often look back at some of the things that we could have done different or should have done different. But, for parents, when kids grow up, 17, 18 or whatever, or as they start becoming their own, it always takes the parents a while to catch up to that this is not a little child no more. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what she was just experiencing is that it just took her a while. She's so used to a close family together. And here's everybody going off, on their own, doing their own thing. Wow. And sometimes as parents, it just takes us a moment to kind of catch up that they are adults. They have their own mind. They're going to do their own thing. So for me, I mean, Maddie was cool, especially for the time frame that it came out of. I mean, that's just is what it is. It was her and 1,000 other people like her that was, tough on their kids like that, and I don't think that the kids were really sheltered. I think she just wanted them to live a godly life, also. Now, what's a godly life? Now she might have had a whole different definition than somebody else. But...
Yeah,
I don't think she was a Joe Jackson. I think she was Joe. I would say she was Joe Jackson-esque. But I
mean, in the movie, they didn't portray her like hitting the kids all the time. You know what I'm saying? See, Joe Jackson used his hands a lot too.
Yeah,
you only saw her slap Denise once.
I can't see going that far. The worst I can see Maddie doing is what we saw in the choir, throwing a shoe. That's all.
Well, that and slapping Denise that one time. She did slap Denise one time, but other than that. Yeah, but Joe Jackson was doing some other stuff.
For me, it was more the emotional and the spiritual.
The emotional was maybe the same.
Straight stress, abuse, coercion. That's the word I'm looking for. It's the coercion and the tactics to get people to behave a certain way. And it's just parcel to a lot of strict religious backgrounds. It's not demonizing her or anything like that. Like if that's all you know, that's all you know. You can't do better if you don't know better. And evidently they did pretty well. They're the Clark sisters. Yeah. So,
exactly. Exactly. But you know what? I think it's easier to be able to critique because most people, the average Joe Blow, if they would have seen that movie, when it went all the way off on Miss Maddie, but because we grew up in that era, plus we love music, and so we understand why certain people have to be tough on us because they got to get the best out of us. And sometimes you got to be a little nasty at times, or you got to really be strict in order for them to get the point, like, look, you got a gift here, and it's like, you don't need to play around. If you're truly serious about what you were doing, and you love what you're doing, then yes, I'm gonna push you because, like I said, for me, when I first found out that I was in music, man, and when I was younger, and found out I could sing, or so I thought at first, and just going around, I just thought I was just Mr. Mac Daddy to the core until I got to my first music teacher. And once he sat me down and showed me that as much as you can sing, you don't know jack what you doing, and it changed my mindset. And he pushed my high parts to the brink. And there were times I wanted to perform a couple of WWE moves on his throat, but but I got it. If you love what you do, you got to take it seriously. And that's how I understood Miss Maddie from that perspective, because that's the way I was trained too. It's like you got to take your craft seriously.
112Ds, a 112Ds. You've been sitting here for a minute. You haven't said anything. Was there anything that you wanted to add? Hopefully you can. I know sometimes you have issues when you come on here. Your mic, if you don't realize it, your mic is muted. I don't know if you just didn't realize that. I mean, there you go. All right, yeah. Anything you wanted to add, 112?
Y'all hear me?
No, we can't. No, we can't hear you. No. Yeah, we can't hear you, man.
Yeah, we said we what was the question again?
I just said, is there anything that you wanted to add, with the discussion that's going on? Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, we said we what was the question again? I just said, oh yeah, what I was saying was I agree that it was a little too much, but on the other hand, they should have asked questions about not just as the not
a 112DZ. By any chance, do you have headphones or something? Because there's feedback. Like I can hear myself talking from 1 minute ago.
You getting feedback?
Okay, I don't hear it anymore. Okay, go ahead. All right, go. Yeah, that's better. All right, go ahead on and say what you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying I do agree that Maddie was on them a little too hard, but what they should have did was ask questions as they were getting older, not just wait until they got close to dating or getting their marriage or close to like late 30s, early 40s to figure stuff along the way. That's a little too late. That's too much going on.
I guess they just didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I don't know. I can't say because I'm not them. I can't really say why.
Can I jump in right there? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A Black woman's sexuality in the Pentecostal church is not supposed to exist. It's not supposed to exist. And that, like, for our generation, that might not make sense, but having sex in Black Pentecostal church for Black women is like a cardinal sin. Like, you can almost do anything else. You can gossip, you can overeat, you can do a myriad of other things as long as you are in holiness. And typically what that means is that you're not getting none. So I hear what he's saying.
Oh my God.
I try not to laugh. I try not to laugh. I try. I was sitting here like, don't laugh. I couldn't stop. No, go ahead,
she's
Dre.
telling the truth.
Yeah, she is. I know she
the
is.
truth. I tried dating a few of them, so I know.
Look at Ron. Ron was like, "Hey, baby, listen," and she was like, "I rebuke you, devil."
My aunt is a Pentecostal preacher, evangelist, and when I was growing up, when we were teenagers, one of the things she told us was that if we really think we need to, I don't know if I can say this, but it's the CUM word. If you want to do that so bad, then just be ready to bust hell wide open. That was our sex education.
Wow.
You know what?
There was no dating advice. There was no, you should meet guys and hang out with just, set your boundaries, have a good time, get to know people. It was none of that. It was stay away from boys or you're going straight to hell kind of rhetoric. And I'm not even a PK. So you can understand the pressure on somebody who grew up in a prestigious religious family, the pressure was on them to not have sex because you can't shame the family.
Girl, now I understand why Miss Maddie was so upset then. Man.
She was frustrated, man. She was just frustrated.
Everything. No wonder she couldn't be all emotional.
She was frustrated, but anyway.
I'd be a little bit Joe Jackson too.
Well, clearly Maddie was getting some. She had 2 husbands. So
Well, yeah, and she had 5 kids, or 6 kids, right? Yeah, 6 kids. Yeah,
right.
She did something. She definitely did something. But
now we understand why she had 6 kids, because man, she wasn't gonna have nothing else. She was trying to get it in as fast as she can for the holiness found out, because the whole witnesses are the same way.
Yeah.
Michael, just boy, no.
Hey, Drea, how?
I'm sorry.
Hey, Drea, how upset did you get when Twinkie's husband was looking at her like, when you gonna bring in some money in here? You supposed to be the big great Twinkie Clark, and aren't you the whole sister? I want to know. I want to know just how upset. I'm not even asking you if you got upset.
First at the screen is what I'm saying to you. I went off.
I know. That's why I did not ask you if you got upset. My question is, how upset did you get?
I was, I didn't know about that part of her life. And
right.
I was kind of surprised that she had an experience like that. Like, I think your cousin was saying that, she had really low self-esteem. And if the narrative that they portrayed in that movie is true, then I have to agree with that. Like,
yeah.
Not only was she not taught how to pick, like, she picked the worst thing possible.
But that goes back to the shelter, though, Andre. That's why I think maybe not all of them were sheltered, but I think Twinkie was sheltered
but see,
overly. I think she was, because she was always under her mother.
You might be right about that part. I don't know, but
I don't know either.
Just because she ended up in that situation doesn't mean she was protected from other situations.
Okay,
she could have been through other situations.
Yeah.
Saying that wasn't like that. She just didn't have any experience with dating and choosing a suitable mate. She might have had all kinds of unsuitable mates.
Right, that's
might
true.
have been one of the bishops. Then nobody ever found out.
Right.
I'm I don't want to put that out there, but stuff happens.
If a Pentecostal
you
church,
are my Aaron again.
Oh, she's your Aaron again.
No, but it makes sense now. If the Pentecostal church is what they said it was, then Maddie saw the genius in Twinkie, and so I think she did shelter Twinkie real tight, because she saw, kind of like how Joe saw the same magic in Michael. When he saw that Michael could definitely be there, I think she saw the same thing in Twinkie. And so when a parent sees something that could be potentially big, that's the child that they sheltered the most. Because if you hear Michael Jackson, it was like Joe was all over him, nonstop, until he saw that he didn't have to have no problems with Michael. And then, of course, poor Marlon, he just got killed for every time of the day. But
he couldn't dance, so he had to whip him, until he could dance. But anyway,
but he beat the dance in him, though. He beat the day. He beat.
He beat it in him, but yeah,
he beat the rhythm in him. But Maddie just kept Twinkie because he saw that Twinkie could be the person that's going to be able to help the sisters. She was going to be the one. She could play, and she could sing, and she can write. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have talent like that, and Miss Maddie sees it, it's like, I got to groom you. I got to, And then after a while, like you said, it's more putting in what Maddie wants and not so much what Twinkie wants. I mean, look at the beginning of the film when Twinkie and Denise was at the kitchen table, and you hear about the sacrifices Twinkie had to make early in her life. She dropped out of college. She She did a lot of stuff
because her mother had her like this. That's why I said Twinkie was really sheltered.
Right. So, when a parent sees that you have the true gift and they feel like, why you need to go to school, why you need to do this.
Right.
You just need to be more focused on
Sorry.
And teaching the girls to sing, making sure they continue to harmonize. You make up the songs because I'm getting older. At some point, you're going to have to take this thing going, and that was her vision for the girls. And so I can see why Twinkie ended up like she is, because she, like you said, she had low self-esteem, and she had no identity for herself. So it does not shock me.
The main thing was I don't know if it was low self-esteem as much as it was just no identity outside of her mother, because she never because that's what she said when she told her that she was moving to North Carolina. She said that's one of the reasons why I'm leaving is because I need to get away from you. That's what she told her mother. And so it might was more so the identity thing and not as much as low self-esteem. I don't know, of course, because I'm not her, but yeah, that identity I think was the major thing. She just, and Denise was, and earlier in the film, Denise was just like, she was like, I don't want to be under mama all the time, like you. Basically, you know what I'm saying? Because that's Twinkie was just always under the mother, and you see that Twinkie rebelled from having to be under her mother all the time, and I think that went into her making some of the mistakes she made.
Right, so, exactly. But I have a question for, I don't want to say your government name. D, Miss D. I'm gonna call you Miss D. Is that all right?
Who you talking about, Drea?
D.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I didn't want to put out a government name.
you know she has her name. You know her name is like written.
She wanted me to announce it. You know,
James, she has it typed. James, she has it typed under her face. It says Drea.
Yeah, but I don't know if she got it typed like that on YouTube. That's why I was just didn't know if she wanted me to say it like that. Okay, well, let me explain.
How many times have you heard me say on? No, look, I go even deeper. I call her Andrea most of the time. If you want to go to government name,
yeah, no. Let me explain. I do what's called Skype calls, like conference calls. Okay, and I'm on a program called Power Talk. Power Talk, you can have one specific name, but then when you get on the Skype call, some people go by the government name. So it's like, when you ask people to get on the conference call, I say, listen, do you want me to call you by your government name, or do you want me to call you by the name that you go on the video chat? And so, you know what I'm saying? So you got to ask that, because some people get real. Listen, you'll be surprised. Some people get real snippy if you go out there calling out their government name. So that's just,
thank you for that,
James.
Hey Nathan, I had to do that since you're not on the panel.
You have, like I said, the same way you're doing the podcast. The Skype call is the same way, man. But you just got certain people that want you to call them by their Power Talk name rather than they would their government name. So that's why, Yeah, you would have to really do it to understand it. But Drea, let me ask you a question. So if you and that dude took you and said,
wait, you gotta start your question over, because they over here clowning and I couldn't even hear you.
Let me mute my microphone because I can't stop laughing. I'm gonna mute my microphone.
It's just
No. But no, I was gonna ask you, if you was in Twinkie's spot and your husband came at you talking about you Twinkie Clark, where's all that big money that you're supposed to be making for the family while he jobless? I would like to see how you would have responded in that situation.
I wouldn't have made it down the aisle with somebody like that. We wouldn't have made it on the first date.
You would have been at home with mama. When the day
this is what Drea would have did. Like, she would have been like,
I mean, it would have been.
Ask me that question again. Ask me that question again. I dare you. Ask me that question again. That's what have been Drea.
I really think what happened in her case, I think he presented himself a certain way, and once he got her down there, I think he flipped the script on her.
Yeah, of course.
And then at that point, he had a child. It was really nothing she could do. If I was in a situation like that, I would be making my exit plan. I would not tell him about it, because he's clearly an abusive person, whether it's physical or just emotional. But if somebody that I was in a relationship with and have given birth to a child with came at me like that, like we supposed to be building a life together, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to save up. Da, 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 da. I need to have money to move. I need to have down payment on an apartment. I would have already been planning to leave. And then as soon as I could, I would, because that is not the person that you're supposed to be with.
Especially if you put your hands on my mother, I would have been left.
Yeah, that's number one. There never would have been any kind of trip anywhere if you would have touched my mother. We would have been you would have caught a beat down right there in my house. But
Yep.
I mean, yeah. I don't believe in violence most of the time, but and I mean that's all the way around, like,
Most of the time.
Did everyone catch that? I want make sure go on the record. She said most of the time.
Only part time.
Hey Ron, that's your Aaron. Remember that, Ron. That's your Aaron talking. Okay, she represents you.
If I say it and then y'all can see me on World Star beating somebody down, then I need to have made this disclaimer that you should know that if that ever happens, I was triggered beyond control. So,
I got you. I got you.
most of the
She just a nice version. She can't tell you how she would really feel once she get out that microphone. I will cut you. Oh, we owned it. Yes. You know,
I think what really happened with Twinkie is that first she was an extension of her mother's identity, which means her mother was probably struggling with a little narcissism. And what she did was she transferred one abuser for another. So she married somebody. Her mother was already kind of using her as a cash cow. I'm not saying that was her deepest intent, but her mother was using her to drive her own personal vision. And so basically, what other kind of relationship was she going to end up in? She didn't know nothing else. She didn't know nothing else but to be the extension of somebody else, to live, to serve somebody else's purposes other than her own. So if she didn't understand how to do that, it's easy to see how she can end up in a relationship like that. But I can tell you that would never be me.
I believe it. I heard it in your tone right there. I know it not me. I heard it in your tone. Yeah, that's the I'm gonna you tone. Oh, that ain't gonna be me. Yeah, that's right there. Oh, that ain't gonna be me.
She did the neck roll and everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of that. I'm just with a straight face and calm and stuff, but it's hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I did cry on that part because even though that could never be me, I can relate to being misused in a relationship. So that part I could definitely relate to. So I did. I felt bad. I was angry and felt bad and wanted to fight him and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So bad for Twinkie, all
world star
girl, and and for her to go through what she goes through, like I said, it just I cried when she sold the catalog. Personally, I cried. Like, no,
yeah, that was terrible.
No, what did you do?
I'm like, you can tell she
nobody. Even if you didn't consult your mother, talk to somebody.
Right.
And give you some advice.
But you know what? People don't know. I mean, it's like in 2020, we've heard so many. Yeah, we've heard so many stories about people getting cheated in 2020. But to be fair, that was probably in the early 70s or mid 70s. So she probably she just had no idea.
Right.
You know, for someone to do that in 2020, you will really look at them and be like, really? You know that, so you give her a little bit of grace, but remember her mother specifically told her, you take over the group, I'll handle the business.
But see, I think that might have been a point of sheltering, so I can concede your what she should have done was started training her in the business.
Yes,
because she knew she was going to hand the group over to her. She knew her daughter was a songwriter, right? So if she knew the business like that, then she should have little by little trained Twinkie. See, Twinkie, these are your songs. You need to do da. You need to do.
There you go. There you go.
Her in the business, Twinkie had the music part down pat. What she needed training in was how to handle her business.
Exactly. You know what I said when I saw that part? I said I wish I had Warren Buffett's money. I feel so bad for her. I'm gonna go back and buy her
I
catalog
know,
back.
and give it back to her,
Go
right?
back on
For real.
and give it back to her for free. Then Paul,
Right.
let me go give her songs back. Girl, you just didn't know what you were doing. God bless you. And I'm gonna give you a brand new song back. There you go. God bless you. You just
One of the best, well, one of my most funniest, the funniest, or should I say, the part I like the most in the movie is when Twinkie was composing "You Brought the Sunshine," and of course, one of the sisters was like, "That's Stevie Wonder," and after they finished it, they presented it to their mother because and because Maddie Moss was quote unquote so saved, obviously she didn't listen to secular music, so
right.
she had no idea
I
that
know.
it was like based off of a Stevie Wonder
Yeah.
too. I just thought that was hilarious how they did that. It was like, so Mama, can we do this song? And she's sitting there like, yeah, y'all gonna do it at the next show, whatever. And they sitting there looking at each other. I thought that was hilarious
A genius
because
move.
Maddie Moss, she was
Yeah.
so saved that she didn't even know about no Stevie Wonder.
Right, exactly.
That
Like,
that was a relief for me. I needed something, because it was seeing so much drama. So seeing that part that made me smile right there. I said,
well,
"That's
thank God. You know what? You know what would have been real funny is if she'd have did that, and then as the song got put out, and then she heard Master Blaster, it'd be like,
right."
that was
Yeah, they never addressed whether or not her mother ever found out. That wasn't addressed in the movie. If
Right.
her mother ever realized what they just did, but
right.
you see that song became a big hit for him though.
That song is an anthem
Yeah.
for everybody. The world, the church, everybody loves that song.
Yeah, they was on R&B radio.
Right.
Yeah, I think they said they made the R&B charts with that one.
I think methinks Twinkie was listening to some R&B on the side anyway, because
Clearly.
Right.
Because she realized it was Stevie Wonder, and so did one of the sisters. So obviously they was listening to it because they was like, "That's Stevie Wonder." I know Stevie Wonder when I hear Stevie Wonder.
Exactly.
So yeah, they clearly was
religious, not deaf. Right. Exactly.
Babbling.
But you know what I would love to know is, I wonder if Stevie ever tried to sue the Clark Clippers, because clearly once the song came out, Stevie had to heard it. So it's like, I wonder, did he say, maybe it's the Lord's will. I'll let them have this one.
And Stevie probably was like, I like it.
Right.
I like it. Yeah, I like what they did. They made it gospel. Yeah.
You know what? That would bring up some music.
I'm gonna need you to break me off about 10% of that royalties. But yeah, I like it.
Andre, you tried to say
it was the person.
I mean, because I thought about that kind of too. Like, there was never no copyright issues with that, and I wonder if it's because she didn't like rip off the whole thing. She ripped off a certain feel, right?
Yeah, that's what we call sampling today, right?
Interpretation. Was it just an interpretation of it? Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure if it was even so. I'm trying to think of Master Blaster. I'm not sure if it was even a full sample of that. You know what I'm saying? Master Blaster goes.
It was the vibe. I think she just really did the vibe. That's
it was
all
just the rhythm. It was the tone rhythm of the song.
Right. It was a stylistic influence.
I remember.
But you know what? Stevie looked at it like, what? At that point, Stevie had 942 hits. He was like, "I'll let it go. I got so many hits. I'll just let that one go. It ain't like I'm not making no money."
Hey, 112, you was trying to say something. 112. Repeat what you was trying to say.
Well, I was saying, I remember seeing an interview where Twinkie was talking about that song. She said what really caught her attention about the song was at the end. You know how when Stevie does that little fast part at the end of Master Blaster? I bet you if someone was talking yesterday to tell you that you would be jamming, you would not believe them because you never thought that you'd be jamming.
I know that. Okay.
Y'all don't know what I'm talking about?
I've heard a little bit of Master Blaster. I'm not that now. That's
I'm not familiar enough to know the song like that. I would have to listen to it.
Question.
Like, you know how at the end of Master Blaster Dread when Stevie sings that fast little riff, that fast part?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that really caught Twinkie's attention. That's what made her add that part to her song.
Right. That's what I feel too. Like that's the stylistic piece that she borrowed to make the song.
Right.
It wasn't the whole song. You know, Master Blaster got other parts, and so does her song. But she took that feel and
Right. What started with all sampling, right? She sampled bits and pieces of
look this up right now.
But I mean, you listen to Twinkie Clark's songs, the songs that she writes. Her gospel was very progressive for back then. She writes a lot of the chord progression she used back then was used for 90s R&B songs. People who record worldly music in the 90s, they were listening to the Clark sisters. They took her chords. So, I mean, she was a progressive thinker, and I have a lot of respect for her.
Yeah.
So listen to some of her stuff. Go back and listen to the Clark sisters Endow Me. Listen to that. Even go back and listen to I Tried Him. The one she did with her mom. Man, that song was like, I don't know what year that was. That was way back. But like
early 70s. Early mid-70s, yeah.
The progression in that song is used over and over and over again in R&B music. So there's no way you cannot respect that woman. Lowest self-esteem or not, girl's a genius.
I call her the queen of contemporary gospel music, in my opinion. I mean, I think the Clark sisters, in my opinion, I think there's some other opinions about who started contemporary, but to me, hands down, was the Clark sisters. Because, like you said,
it was Twinkie.
It was
the Clark sisters. It wasn't Kurt Franklin.
Exactly. No one wanted to hear that because it was that traditional gospel. You know what I'm saying? And then,
I mean, it was Detroit. It was that Detroit sound that did it. It was the Clark sisters.
Oh yeah.
And then you had the Winans. They were Detroit too. You know, the Winans jumped onto that. Absolutely. And then Kurt Franklin. Well, I mean, Fred Hammond, the commission.
Now.
Huh?
Don't forget commission.
I just said commission.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, commission. I apologize. I'm sorry, Fred. I'm sorry, Keith. I'm sorry. What's the rest of the name?
But still, don't forget.
I'm sorry, royalties. I'm sorry. But you had them. Yeah, commissioned also the Winans, and they were all from the Detroit area. All Kurt Franklin did was just I think he took it to the next level. That's all. He took what was going on, and then he was the one that said, "Well, you know what? You know," he just took it to the next level, and then of course it just that was stomp right there. You ain't heard nothing yet. You think we got too radical with, he just took it to another level, but he didn't start
and that's what Kurt did. Kurt pretty much took the already contemporary song.
He said, let's take it even further.
R&B feel, but then he was like, "Okay, we ain't got to just do rock side by side no more. We can add the urban flavor to it. Hey, once he was doing that."
You think gospel music gone too far?
All right,
well, you ain't heard nothing yet.
The thing that people didn't like about Kurt.
They got criticized bad. Really.
And then Murray came in and took it to another level too.
Gimmicky covers and samples that he does, and a lot of people are not fans of his because of that. But if you dig into this man's catalog, you're going to find a superbly great songwriter.
You talking about Kurt Franklin?
Yes.
I love his early stuff. His early stuff, I mean, the early stuff is just, I still listen to it. That is why I love you so.
Yeah.
More than life to me. Oh, I just love that.
Because I think Kurt was also one of the very few gospel artists that was the first to add, secular artists in his gospel albums.
Well, he had Salt on that the Stomp album. Was that the first time he had secular artists? Well, no, because the Winans had Teddy Riley.
There's Anita Baker and the Winans. There's some exceptions.
Yeah, Teddy Riley. Yeah, remember?
To another level.
Yeah, Teddy Riley did that. It's time. Yep. Time to make that change. I remember that joint. That was my joint back in the day. I was
all of them, man. John B. Key used what's the organ guy? Billy Preston.
Billy Preston. Okay.
Billy Preston.
And I can't think of the other guy that he used, but yeah, a lot of those guys, man, got flat because they was using like John loves the Gap, man, and he would use a lot of Charlie Wilson's. I like Outstanding.
Yes.
If you listen to some of that, so
yes,
man, they was taking it gospel level too. Yeah, and it was bringing
He took the gospel band to another level, in my opinion.
Oh no doubt.
Oh yeah.
He want that fofo. Right. He want that fofo no more now. Them kids were playing
and John P. Key was one of the first artists to use synth instruments, also keyboard instruments and stuff without a full band when you done a studio recording. John P. Key also, I think he toured with some R&B groups also. So I think that's where a lot of that sound had came from as well.
Yeah, all of them did. I mean, Kurt, John P. used to teach what's the black what's his name? The Cameo. You remember that group Cameo and
it tastes like candy.
Yeah, like with his brother, but
that was a hit.
Oh yeah.
And all
word up. That's the word.
And him walking that, some of those groups, I didn't even know that about John until he really started talking about. So a lot of them started off in Circular World. So how can you not be surprised when they take a little bit of the circular music and gospel music and fuse it together?
Here's the question for y'all. Do you think they've taken it too far now with what's out there now in 2020 with gospel music?
I ain't really heard what's out there now.
I think they've regressed because they will not, and I'm not against CCM flavor and I'm not against CCM progressions, but I think far too few artists will use progressive and contemporary gospel chord progressions to create music now. It's like everybody's getting lazy with their composition styles. Not everybody.
Tell me about it. Yes. Tell me about it.
Some exceptions to that.
One with the third in the bass.
Right.
Or then you go to the minor six.
Nobody wants to create.
It's all thing. It really is. I can't have too many 4, 6. What is it? 6, 4, 1, 5. I get sick of that. I mean, I've heard that.
I agree with you, Drea.
I'm saying 2 of them. I know. So it's just like, come up with something else.
6, 4, 5.
And wait for somebody to make a hit record, and then they just piggyback off that person, and just it's like there's no more creativity. That's what. Now there is a group that I do love. They're young. I don't know if y'all heard them called the Wall Group.
Oh yeah, produced by Kirk Franklin.
Good.
Produced by Kirk Franklin. That's why they're so great. Because they have
very talented
producer,
I mean, just ridiculously just talented with their vocals. I'm just like,
they're very good. They're extremely good.
I am fans of those kids, man. Those kids really sing, and they do a lot of contemporary, which is understandable because they all in their early 20s. So, but they
can also give you a quartet feel.
There you go. Exactly.
They can do. They can hold it down. They can hold it down.
Exactly. They grew
up. I have much respect.
Because they had the 4/4 quartet, so you could also hear that. But at the same time, it's like now they've just evolved, which makes sense. But they still use the traditional. They use God and the music, and they're just bringing kids to Christ. As long as they're bringing kids to Christ, I'm all for it.
I'm sorry, Ron. I'm sorry, Ron.
Now, Richard.
I remember y'all was clowning me when I fell asleep. So because y'all clowned me
I
when
was meditating.
I mean, y'all clowned me so hard when I fucking. Andrea was like, "Is he asleep?" I'm talking about when I fell asleep. And when I saw you close your eyes, I'm
Ron
sorry.
said, "Hey, I deserve it." Say, I'm in my 40s. I done done my time. Raise my
Hey, James, they got on me real bad because I fell asleep on this live about 2 weeks ago, and they was so I couldn't resist. Sorry, Ron, I couldn't resist. And when I saw your eyes go, I was like, that's it.
Hey, don't feel bad, man. I've been on a podcast. I went to snoring straight up.
Well, I don't think I was snoring, but I sure enough had my head down like this.
Hey, I was gonna say something. Hey, Dre, I agree with you. Gospel music has gotten lazy, but I don't think that it's just gospel music. All music has gotten lazy. What happened to a bridge in a song?
I know, right?
Songs don't even get bridges no more.
Yes.
That's why music generation, because you hear the same beat. I done man. Everything starts just like that.
Everything is cookie cutter. I should say.
That's another thing. That's another thing.
They don't got to the point. They don't want to use words. They just mumbling now. They call it mumble rap or mumble. Like has it got to that? So I guess in about another 40 years, it's gonna be nothing but screaming through the whole thing. Just, and that's just gonna be more creativity. Like really.
the thing about gospel music now is more like entertainment now. You don't really feel churchy listening to it now. You know what I'm saying?
It is a lot of entertainment and putting on a show. Some of it, a lot of it is. They're glorifying themselves, the artists or whatever, and that's the problem. Now, Andrea, you said that you think that a lot of stuff is, people like CCM, they're getting lazy or whatever. Do you think it's necessarily lazy, or if they're just trying to not get in the way of the spirit? Because sometimes if you have simpler songs or whatever, you have more room to just worship and you're just staying out of the way. Sometimes when you're getting too creative or whatever, a lot of times the people is not even thinking about the lyrics that's going on. They're not thinking about the spirit. So I don't know if it's necessarily them being lazy as much as it's them just trying to stay out of the way of and just let the spirit have their way. They just keep it simple, because you know how most people are. We can't, if it's too much going on, we can't concentrate anyway. So you got to keep thinking. What is KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? That's what they say. So I don't know. Well, what's your thoughts about that, Dre? Well, because I know you mentioned something about they're getting lazy, and I'm like, well, is that on purpose?
Yeah, that might have been a pejorative term and it might not be accurate. I guess what I'm saying is they don't have the lexicon of musical expression to be able to play more complex chords without overthinking to the point where they don't get in the spirit's way. So in other words, if you grew up in a certain area, you're going to play what you were submersed in. If you were submersed in jazz, and you're a jazz musician, you can play jazz effortlessly because that's the environment that you came up in. But if you didn't come up in that environment, then you don't have that lexicon to refer to. If you came up in an environment of what is going on here?
I wanted to see what lexicon meant.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I get it now. I just wanted to see what lexicon, because you was using big words.
No, you didn't.
Hey, I mean, I was the ignorant one. I wasn't called. It's me. I'm the one that was being ignorant. I'm like, I've heard of lexicon, like the company when you buy stuff. I was like, what's the lexicon? So I just needed to. And I figured, there's somebody else out there, and if y'all admit it, y'all know y'all sitting there like, I wonder what lexicon means. I bet you one of y'all, somebody. It wasn't just me.
Okay, so basically,
okay,
the language you speak best is the language you grew up in your household speaking. If you so if you're a Hispanic child, your parents are immigrants, you come to America and you go to school, you have an ESOL teacher, you're immersed in two different languages. So you're bilingual. You can speak either language fluently and you do just fine. But if you only speak the language of if you've only been in one environment, you've only heard one language, i.e., I've only heard rock progressions. Okay.
Right.
I'm not even going to say they're simpler, even though they are much simpler than gospel jazz progression.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much that it's that if that's the only environment you've grown up in, then that's what you're going to default to, the easiest, and you can go into autopilot and play in the spirit like that because that's what you're used to. But if you grew up being immersed in gospel chords, there's no reason why you can't do the same. It's all about what you've been immersed in, what you've been exposed to, and what you've had experience doing. And so when I use that term lazy, I think that there's just been this withdrawal from playing complex chords and music. And like Ron said, I think he's right when you say, Ron, that it's not just church music, it's everywhere.
Everywhere. Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah. It's just the music that's in 2020.
Well, even if you're going to use those simple progressions, at least put them together in a creative way.
I mean, that's what Motown did. If you think of Motown music, a lot of Motown music was simple chords, but it was the arrangement.
Right. It was
like they took the arrangement made it seem like it was a whole lot more going on.
Motown had a formula. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now that formula did not last forever. Right. But they had a formula and it worked for what they did. And the music is classic. It's never going to go anywhere.
Right.
So, I mean, that is a touche moment.
Mm-hmm. and you know what? And we talked about that. I don't know which stream, but we had talked about. I wonder if there's going to be. Well, I guess there's people that's not really creating their own sound anymore. You know, Motown had their own sound.
Yeah.
You know, there was a couple other ones. I wonder if those days are long gone, because the stuff they're calling R&B now, I don't know if that could really be called R&B.
It's not real. It's not the real definition of rhythm and blues. No, it's not. Right. The stuff that they're calling rhythm and blues is no. I mean, I guess it's rhythm because there's a drum pattern. Okay, I'll give you that, but it's definitely not blues.
But even the same with pop music, what they're calling pop music, that's not my definition of pop music. The stuff, country music that they're playing, that's not my definition of country music, you know.
Right.
So I just wonder if there's going to be new trends that get set. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, will we have another Teddy Riley that will come out and say, okay, I'm bringing in a brand new sound. I'm going to, take a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. We're going to make a gumbo and call it New Jack Swing. Yeah. Your question is, are we going to have somebody else that's going to come and give us another style? I don't know, because everybody's too worried about being cookie cutter. Got to sound like everybody else.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's what I was gonna say. And that's what I was gonna say. I believe those people are out there, and I believe those people are trying to break in the industry, but I think they are getting a big stop sign to say, no, what is this? This is right. No.
Especially the ones that's still dealing with the labels. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's an industry standard now. Mm-hmm. And with the industry standard, all of them have the same type of sound. They're looking for that type of sound. Right. And that's just, I don't know. That's the worst thing that I think that record companies ever done, was they kind of left it into the people's hands to decide, what to do. Right. And then when we get in the technology thing also, it's just so easy for anybody to make music. It's just so crazy. I mean,
all they got to do is just take their mouse, point and click, and they're going to sample the loop and every. It's like anybody can be a producer now.
Right.
They don't even have to know anything about chords or anything now. It's
frustrating. It's so frustrating to me because I'm a person that I work hard at what I do, whether it comes to church or whether it comes to anything else. I work hard to practice, and I generally always want people to feel something for something that I do. Whether it makes their foot stomp or something that reaches people's inner self.
Oh, Ron, I get exactly what you're saying, brother. Listen, that's what I've asked the young generation. When they play all their music, the first question I ask is, what does that song do to you? And about 85% of them cannot tell you. It's just it's just hype. It's like that's to me that's the saddest part of all because that's what music was made for in the first place. It was designed to be able to pull out certain emotions out of you. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you got to the point now where if you can make music and as long as you're looking for more than a hit and it does it's like they don't like you just said they don't care about what it is that they're producing. It's like all you want is a hit. But I heard a young kid say, "I want to be the next Michael Jackson." You want to do that, then you better have the love to create. You got to have something
Right.
that is so deep within your soul that when you create it, 50 years down the line, somebody's going to be able to put it right back on the radio, and somebody going to say, "Hey, that's a catchy little tune. Who is that?" "Oh, that's such and such. 50 years ago, he or she did." And it's like they don't see that. It's like for them, all they see is the fortune and the fame, and that's sad. And I'm not saying that that's not important, but it's not the bigger part important. If you ask all those artists before our time what they truly meant and what they loved, yeah, they wanted the money, they wanted all of that, but they believed in what they were doing. That's why they stood into the studio 3, 4, 5 days because once that creative juices was flowing, man, and they was coming up with different sounds and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
come up. Yeah, it's like they knew how to put it all together, and it was just like they just created magic. You know what I'm saying? It's like because I explained to us like right now, if I hear that boom, boom, da bang, boom, da bang, I couldn't tell who's little this or who's little that in today's world. But if I hit that boom, 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 I know right away Marvin Gaye. Nobody has that unique tempo. You know what I'm saying? No one has that unique. Or if I hear Stevie Wonder joint, I know right away. Steve.
I mean, I was like that with
Yep.
Babyface. Like I would hear a new song come on the radio, and I would, even if he wasn't singing it, I could listen to the song and say that's produced by Babyface. It's like everyone had it was just a sound. You can tell when Devontae produced something outside. I mean, it was Jodeci, but sometimes you'll hear stuff and be like, that sound like Devontae, because Devontae did do some stuff outside of Jodeci, had their own sound. Jam and Lewis. I mean, they had their own sound too. They could switch their sound up though
Right,
too.
exactly.
But
His New Jack Swing. You just
Did y'all see this comment from Acoustic Gazzy?
Mayoli, which one?
It says, "Ron, we just getting old is what it is. LOL. Our kids will tell their kids how great 2010 to 2020 music was, and the 2030s music is crap."
Oh yeah, I mean that's what we're doing now. Look at what we're doing now. We're doing that right now with today's music.
Okay, I will agree with that with one caveat. Okay, because there are great musicians in every generation.
Of course,
great musicians in every generation.
Even today, we see some good ones. Like we got Her and people like them out there that is doing it right.
There's awesome musician. There's awesome musicians. Okay. Now, the one thing I believe every awesome musician in one generation has done, they have studied the generations before them. They might not take their style, but they've studied it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They've listened to it. They've been immersed in it. And they're able to form their own identity because they've been exposed to good music from a lot of different eras and a lot of different genres.
I can say that all the way up to 2000, like my man said, 2010. I don't think these kids could care less about the music before them. They just hear something, put it together. I think I can honestly say we're criticizing them for the right things. Now, in our time, I know that we was criticized, but we could explain our music. We could tell them exactly what we were doing. We could tell them why we were doing it. That 2010 and up, they can't tell you that. All they can tell you is, "Hey man, it's jumping, it's live."
All I had to do was just point and click, and I point and click, and I hit Control D to duplicate, and I had a hit.
Right.
I'm like, well, what instrument did you play? I didn't have to play an instrument. I don't know how to play an instrument. I just put the sample on it.
Yeah, it's like that's why I get upset. It's like when you hear Jasmine Sullivan and some of these young artists out here who can really got talent, but not getting the credit that they're due because they refuse to um be mixed up into all that senseless same beat, same this, same that. Chris Brown. I mean, even with Chris Brown, and this is why I like Chris Brown. Chris Brown took some of what's going on and still added his flavor to what it is, but at least he knows what he's trying to do. Now I can respect that compared to someone who said, "Hey, but why did you make this beat? Why did you mumble?" I mean, I look. I even told them. I said, "You know what would be genius part of it? If you told me, hey, Mr. Dunn, look, you know why we mumble? Because it's some sort of code for only people who can recognize it. That makes more sense." I said, "Okay." Then that means you got to go find out what certain mumble means in order to understand. Okay, at least that's creative. But if you're just telling me you just simply doing it because we just tired of using words and putting up words like what do they mean? That means we communicate. That's what it means. That's why words were invented in the first place. But I'm not saying all of them are like that, but like 85,
That's why words
85%
isn't-
of them, yeah. Yeah, it just drives me crazy, man. It drives me crazy.
Can't argue with that.
Why we got criticized because when we were sampling, our parents couldn't understand all the it and scratching and beat, but we did. We had, like I said, we
Yep.
had understanding of what it was doing, and we could explain what it was doing. We could explain the passion. Why do you think hip hop has survived like it did? Because when hip hop first got invented, what was said about hip hop?
Won't
That
last. It won't last. And now it's probably like the top money generator. I think.
Exactly
Is
in
at the
the
top.
world.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like anything that lets you know that you are onto something. Like from the time of guy, whoever invented DJing and realized that you can bring the song back to certain periods in the album and re-scratching and all that to me, like I said, that's creativity. That's something that's going to last a lifetime. Not something that you just hear everybody use the same beat. Some people use words, some people don't. And it's like, yeah, all we want is the fortune and fame. We could care less about whether or not we're known. Because I don't think from 2010 now, a lot of this music is not going to be used. I truly, in my heart, believe it's not. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I think everything comes back around. At some point, I think if a generation from there that's growing up now, hopefully somebody will get them back into music, let them listen to some of the oldies but goodies. And then when that generation becomes teenagers, they'll bring actual music back. That's what I'm hoping. I may be 70 or 80, but I'm hoping at that point, them kids to be like, no, we ain't gonna do all that mumble jumble stuff and such. We've heard it, it makes no sense. We want to create music. That's what I want to hear again. I'm hoping I see that again.
Seeing some good comments from the
Absolutely.
some really good comments from
Yep.
the chat.
Yeah, there's some good comments.
So Jay, this is the James that's in the chat room said Motown's tagline was music for a young generation. Our parents hated the stuff we loved coming up. It's true. It's like every generation you see that, but I really like. I think James just said this. With us, we have a reason why we don't like the stuff that's out now. It's like it's not music.
See,
It's point and click.
I have a comment about that because
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there is an emerging phase of new musical styles that makes people reject it at first, but then as it gets older and matures, then it becomes more acceptable, more palatable, and maybe even it becomes better music. So, for example, the hip hop generation, our parents listened to Motown. So hip hop in its infancy is nowhere near, you know what I'm saying? Once it started to evolve through the 80s and 90s, it started to mature and become a better art form.
I agree.
In its infancy, does it really compare to Motown? Motown at its maturest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
Well,
started with Motown, but then you had Gamble and Huff, as the 70s came in and things of that nature, because they made a whole lot of hits in the early 70s, because I would say Motown was more early 60s. Gamble and Huff
Right,
was more,
golden age.
yeah, it was like late 60s, early 70s, going in close to the 80s. And then hip hop came in late 70s.
after disco, yeah.
Right, after disco.
Right, but that's
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Disco sucks. The people who lived during the disco era know that disco sucks. The people that live now know that disco sucks.
Yeah, but even with disco, you can say disco sucks.
Of the 70s.
I actually like
You can say
disco.
you can say disco sucks, but at least disco still was like had musical elements to it.
Yeah,
The stuff that's out today don't even have music. At least disco still had musical. It was still music. It might have sucked, but
it did crash and burn though at some point.
yes.
Hey, oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because the bass line look, the bass line, the disco is still used to this day. You know,
That's true.
Well, yeah, it turned into
Oh
funk.
man, everybody used to be itching to use that bass part in it.
Andre, what you have against disco? I didn't know you was this. I didn't know you felt this way this strongly
I think
against
that
disco.
I don't have anything against it per se, but I feel like disco is to the 70s what a lot of people say mumble rap is to now.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. You gonna compare mumble rap to something like "She's a Brick Dum 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 House" or Donna Summers?
That's funk though.
Yeah, that's not disco.
Well, no, he just said Donna Summers, but he just said Donna Summers.
No. Now, Brick House is more disco, but okay, Donna Summers. Okay, I give you that.
Brick House is not disco.
Is a good example because now you're talking about the very cream of the crop disco. Now you're talking about Donna Summers. We're talking about Last Dance. We're talking about her whole. Donna Summers sings to me almost better than Whitney Houston. So you're not going to compare too many people.
Yeah, you got the beat.
Listen to her music. The girl was bad. The girl.
No, she's very talented. No,
disco. I mean, you should have seen my face the day I found out that they was actually white guys. I used to think the Bee Gees were black.
You just found out today?
When I was a little kid. When I was a real little kid.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, I've known for many of years because I watched the videos on YouTube.
Like they sound like some little white guys.
They do.
I mean,
they sound like little guys.
The one that you high note.
And they have on the overall. They sound super white.
Well, not to me. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because when I used to go to my brothers with them to the discos and down to the, they used to play the Bee Gees a lot. And when whoever was used to hit those high notes, you used to hear those high notes in church. They or so I just regularly assumed.
And I knew he was white.
Right.
Oh, you knew it. Okay.
They were white high notes.
I mean, I just knew he was white just because I've seen the videos. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to be honest with you, just because I saw the videos.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, a lot of people. I really did. Like Tina Marie. Tina Marie was another one. When I first heard Tina Marie,
I wasn't sure about her. I feel like she was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought Tina Marie was that.
Yeah, you got Slide I can't know her. I wouldn't know the disco. I wouldn't know.
So you trying to say when you listen to chords like that?
You can. I get what you're saying. Disco had its day.
Disco had moves.
Okay, let's have like put disco in the show. So here comes. He said, "I don't agree with you."
I figured I put that one up there.
Look, we all got our own opinions. I respect that. Okay, so what I'm talking about is like, so hip hop comes in the early 70s, but our parents, they're still part of like the Motown generation. So disco really is not here or there. The reason why I'm comparing hip hop in its infancy to Motown in its maturity, because by the time the 70s came, Motown music, it didn't really die out. Like Motown music is always relevant. It's always something you can and would listen to. People base songs on Motown songs even now. So in comparing like hip hop in its infancy to that, I can understand why an older generation would judge the next generation of music. But then that music has a time to mature and marinate a little bit and become a little bit more complex. And then those who came up with that genre are able to say, okay, now we have something. Or I guess that's just the natural life course of a genre. But then after that, then here comes something else. And then like, oh my gosh, that's trash. But so what I'm saying is maybe the mumble rap and all of this basic music that we have today, maybe it's in the infant stage of what will develop to be a really great genre or set of Richard is saying
no.
Yeah, you was ready to reach.
I see what you're trying to say on Dre. I see what you're trying to say, but I doubt it. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
I think it's going to get better. I think there's going to be a rebirth. There's always everything. There's nothing new under the sun. There's going to come.
Let me say this: whoever takes up a mumble rap 20 or 30 years from now, let's hope that they're smart enough to say, well, let's use this mumble rap and use it as a code of words that we're trying to say. That would make more sense. At least they got it compared to the kids 30 years ago who truly mumbled and could care less what the words meant.
Right.
That's what they actually would and make it a code. That'll be it's creativity. That's the whole point to it. Creativity.
But check this out. My uncle is 70. He's 74 years old. And I remember when I was coming up, he didn't understand rap. He didn't like rap, none of that. This man, I got in the car with him. He is playing a Tupac CD and he knows the lyrics to it and he's rapping to it.
Okay, see. I mean, Tupac,
73 years old.
I heard Brenda's got a baby, but Brenda barely know a name. A darn shame. The girl can hardly spell a name.
To that Tupac, he's listening to like the stuff Tupac done with Death Row is what he's listening to.
Okay. The cussing and all that. Well, I mean, he always cuss. But I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Lord, I remember the first time I did listen to rap. He was all off beat, and my dad is always on beat. I remember he hear hip hop. Hey, I like that song right there. The hip hoppers are the hip hoppers. Yeah, why you got to put the emphasis behind? It's just hip hop hooray. That's what I said. Hip hoppers hooray.
Man, don't be talking about my Uncle James, man. Just stop talking about my Uncle James like that, man. Stop talking about Uncle James, man.
He used to put together.
Hey, y'all remember all the?
It took me
y'all remember all the older cats used to say, "Whoop, there it is."
And my dad, there it is. It's like,
be a saying, like we used to say that and mean it. Like,
oh yeah, like ooh, there it is. Yep.
Hip hop is the ray. God bless him though. He tried though. He tried to relate to me. God bless him.
So y'all saying when y'all heard these chords, y'all knew these guys was white?
Is that
this is da 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 da. This is the Bee Gees. Da 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 da.
Oh, okay.
Da 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 dee dee dee. I mean, that does sound black to me. I mean, these chords makes me think it's. I mean,
we wasn't talking about.
They sound like blue-eyed soul people. They sound like really great white guys.
Okay.
Talking about chords. I was just talking about vocally.
He's saying. Okay, he said I ain't talking about the chords. Okay. I'm listening to the chords. I know. I'm looking at my chord sheet because I'm looking at the chord sheet I made for the song when I did the tutorial. I'm like, these are black chords that we use in black music all the time.
Okay,
But okay,
so
you
is
saying
that
the vocals?
song
You
that
saying the
PJ
vocals?
Morton remade you was playing?
Say that again.
Was that How Deep Is Your Love?
Yeah, that was how. Yeah, that was da 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 da. I don't know the melody. Then you go to the pre-chorus. How deep is your love? How deep is your love? I really need to know. This is I believe in you. I'm sorry. I just like those chords. I'm sorry.
Listen.
I want to learn how to play that song. Y'all make sure you type it in. I did a tutorial on it, man. This type jazz. You know,
look,
with the
absolutely
video,
right.
man.
Look, look, you absolutely right. Because if you look at the documentary of the Bee Gees, who did they was raised up on black music. So
Yeah.
they're not started off with their own classic rock, but as they got older into their they started performing more the R&B, blues and stuff like that, which made them really famous.
Yes.
Back in the 70s. So it's like, yeah. So when you heard some of their music, you not think it was kind of black. Like, yeah, when I heard Fire and Desire by Rick James and Tina Marie, I just knew until I saw them on TV. Wait a minute.
I refused to believe that Tina Marie was a white woman, even when I saw her. And I had the album. My father had the albums.
I thought she was just light skinned.
What she looked like.
She was light skinned.
Not no white woman.
No. She was light skinned. Not just light skinned, but light skinned.
Right. I was like, she just real light skinned.
Right, exactly.
We gotta put the ED on it. Light skinned.
Light skinned it, right.
I mean, they like just even with Richard playing that song, it brought back memories because white or not, their music was playing in my house.
Those chords feel so nice,
My
even
parents
today.
loved the Bee Gees. Their music was constantly playing in our house. So yeah, they had a huge impact on me.
These the chords right here, y'all. I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of the chords right there. Don't be trying to steal my chords. Oh
my God.
There you go, right there. There you go. Look at that, man. All those are black chords, man. Those are chords from the look at Andre writing them down. You little thief. You know what, Andre? I'll send it to you. That's all good. Don't worry. I'll send you. Now, if you want the chord, I'll send you the chord sheet. Everybody else gotta pay for it though. Now.
No, I'm not doing that.
I'm just playing.
Hey, just screenshot it.
I know you did it right. All you gotta do is go back to the video. Okay, this is the 2 hour and 52-second part of the video. Just go back there and screenshot it.
That's funny.
Or you can watch the video. Because I have a tutorial. See?
We'll learn it. I ain't going. You know.
Yeah, those chords are really. It just puts you in a good mood when you listen to it. It's just, I mean, and you hear the
You know what happened when PJ Morton remade it, right?
I don't know. I heard that he remade it. I don't know if I actually heard it myself though.
Well, he put it on his live. I don't know if it's on his studio version of this, but it's on his live studio album. He remade the song and he said, you know, this is one of my favorite songs and one of my favorite groups. And, I always thought it was soulful, but now I want to really put the soul in. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, he was saying he was taking their song and giving it more soul. And
I hate people who are that's too cocky for me.
Right.
Too cocky.
Me, although I'm a diehard fan of PJ Morton,
I
still love the original.
Give him the side eye because I mean, stop. You, at some point, you need to, check yourself. Like, look,
yeah. That sounds classic.
Do you need to drink some of this juice? Well, this is just water actually, but I'm just saying you need to drink some humble juice, man. Oh my goodness. We forgot that did we mention the Bee Gees when we was talking about blue eye soul singers? We did mention it. Okay, we did. Okay, I was gonna say, man, because if we didn't, we should have mentioned them if we didn't. But
I mentioned them. Thank you.
Oh, there go D.
They
Somebody
was on
just
my
asked
list.
about you. Hey D, someone literally just said, D, are you all right?
I know. I was wondering that too. Are you okay?
Like, did she fall asleep?
Yeah, that's why she turned that camera off, because she didn't want me to zoom in on her. And we go like this.
No, I was listening the whole time. I'm just setting up some stuff, and
she was playing
listening.
her. She was, you know how she be doing like this in the background usually, listen to music. That's what she's doing. She said, "Let me cut the camera off so they don't hit me with the." Oh my goodness, man. Woo, that was it seemed like everybody had a lot on their chest with that subject, huh?
Yeah, man. No,
Yeah.
comes to music, we can go all night. I mean, we all music lovers, man. At least I know I could.
Okay.
I was watching your I went back and watched your show yesterday with the chord progressions, man. You get me itching to want to start to play again, man. I swear.
Well, look, don't forget to look at the one for today too, because I did some more chords today. I'm trying to get my goal is to teach people to learn how to build your chords. You know what I'm saying? It's like you might not always have your chord book, and it's not as hard as you think. The only thing that's going to really take time is learning your scales.
Right.
You know, now take the time to learn all your skills. Once you learn the scale, the formulas is not that hard for each chord. You know what I'm saying? Major chord, 1-3-5. Major 7 chord, 1-3-5-7. Make it dominant, flat to 7. Make it minor, flat to 5. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's not that hard. So hopefully, you know, people will pick up on what I'm trying to teach. And I'm telling you, like literally, okay, if you were to ask me to play How Deep Is Your Love, and I didn't have my chord sheet up right now, I promise you I wouldn't have been able to play it. But it's because I understand chords and I can read my chords. I literally just pulled up the email where it was at, and I literally was just sight reading it. And I'm telling y'all, it's like, it's, you know, because a lot of times people will learn songs, and then if they don't play it after a while, they forget how to play it. And they're like, oh man, now I gotta sit down and learn how to play it again. Well, if you learn how to read chords and stuff like that, you can get stuff like chord sheets. Just sit it right in front of you. I played that song like I just played it an hour ago. I haven't played that song probably in like a year. But that's why I'm like, I'm trying. I mean, there's a reason why I'm teaching the stuff I'm teaching, and I'm hoping that, you know, the few people that get it and, you know, study it, I hope you are able to use it in your musical development. So. But I appreciate your kind words, cousin James.
No, man, listen. I already knew what you was gonna do since the first time I saw you hit the piano, man. So that don't shock me at all. That's your gift, bro. You know how to understand it and teach it. Yeah, because a lot of people understand. Because I had this debate 3 weeks ago. Someone said that ain't no music whatsoever talking about what's so hard. How hard can it be to play and sing at the same time? I said, try it. Right, try it. I've done it. I said, you'll be amazed, because if you don't know what you're doing, because when you play piano, once you become gifted at what you do, you should be able to know exactly what to hit without having to look at it. I said, and that's not easy to do, and try to sing on a microphone. You know what I'm saying? And trying to do what you do. But, you know, some people think that by looking at it, oh, that looks so easy. Or I can learn that, whatever, man. It ain't.
If they took the time to really learn all the stuff that we had to learn behind the scenes, they will realize, oh, wow.
Yeah, man,
it's a whole lot more to it.
Yeah, they think because they see it on TV or they play it on a video games. Oh man, you know I can do this, man. Look,
I can play the guitar because I played Guitar Hero before.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who's on Call of Duty one time talking about, man, I could be in Navy SEALs. And he took the class, came back. He was like, dude, dude, yeah, no, it's easy. Remember, yeah, it's a piece of cake. I said, man, you better stop listening at them daggone video games. Video games, you sitting on the couch, eat potato chips with a controller. They got nothing to do.
Navy SEAL, man.
Yeah, like, dude, chill, like.
Let's take a look at the question that Mayoli just posted. He said, question for the panel and chat. He says, what is the funniest wrong lyrics you ever had? He said his was a song by Joe called All That I Am. I know you have your doubts about me. I thought it was, I know you had 1,000 bunnies. He thought that's what the lyric was. I mean, I'm sure that I'm sure everybody got songs. I can't think off the top of my head of something that was wrong that I thought off the top of my head. I'm sure I know I have songs that I probably would sing the wrong lyrics to.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs that I should know the lyrics, but I don't know the lyrics at all.
Oh, I know a song that I did when I was real little. It took me for the longest time. You ever been in church and right after benediction, you hear this song go, all things come of thee, oh Lord,
and of thy own.
That's the part I didn't understand because I was like, what? So I used to just mumble through that one. All things come of thee, oh Lord, kind of thy own.
Hey,
I never knew the words
too. I still do that.
I do too. I still do it.
Ron. You're the musician.
I do the Ron. You're not alone.
I never could understand the middle of that part, so I just make up my own.
Yeah.
Get yourself a hymn book, man. The words are in the African American hymnal, man.
That's like a doxology, right?
Yeah, it's a doxology. It's like that. All things come. It's in this book right here.
That one's kind of.
I'm looking in the book because I don't know the words either. I'm laughing at y'all.
I wasn't raised in no doxology denomination, so I didn't learn that stuff until I got older and started doing church jobs. So I had to learn. Yeah,
that's a famous. Yeah, that's a famous tithes and offering song.
It sure is.
Yeah, after the offering. Yeah, all things come of thee, O Lord. And what is it? And of thine own
given to
and then you say amen after that. You do a 5-1.
Yeah, that's you all the time anyway, Richard. You hardly ever know the song anyway.
There go D. D's back, y'all. She's back, y'all.
Back,
what you doing?
And of thine own.
See, I had
Oh, you got the same book. There you go. See?
I got like 15 hymnals in here.
I have like 2 versions of that. I have like 2 versions of this book.
This
is my ripped up version though. This is my ripped up version, but it still has all the pages in it though.
This version is my brother's. It's autographed. I stole this from my brother. Sorry, Jay.
Oh, you thiefesses.
You know
you
what?
Thiefesses.
I'm just gonna put this back on the shelf.
Look, hey, look, and Andre, now it's on the internet for the whole world to know that you done stole from your brother. Man.
You know what? And I didn't realize that until now. Yeah.
That was another
hey, Richard.
Because when I used to be a kid, some of the songs, because you got to use. Even at that, sometimes you still couldn't understand what they were saying. There was one lady in the choir. I'll never forget this, and we were all in parts, and I kept hearing this woman say, "You tickle me, Jesus." You tickle me. I remember being a kid, I was about 8 or 9, and I'm like, "You tickle me," so I went along with it. I went, "You tickle me, Jesus." Yeah, I went copying what she was saying. Like, see. It's somebody. It was at that point somebody finally introduced me to the Bible. Oh, thank God! Now I can read along because if I went by what some people were saying back in the day, I'd be really messed up.
I can think of a song I never knew the words to, and I still don't know the words to. What's that Boy George and Culture Club? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I still don't know what the words are.
I don't know the words to that either, man.
And that's the only part I do know.
Right, that's all those come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
I just
I
listen
know
to that,
that. I
man.
was like,
I'm like, man,
come
whatever.
and
I don't even care no more.
go. You come and go.
oh, here come D. Uh-oh.
Come on, comedian.
Sing
Here
it.
come D.
Hey,
Come
D.
and
Hey, D, can you sing
go.
that to this beat right here?
Come on, comedian.
I'm sorry. There was when I was in high school, and I know we was doing on bended knee because I was learning how to play it when I was in high school in the piano, right? And one time it was a group of us singing, and y'all know when Wanye said, "I'm going to swallow my pride, say I'm sorry, stop pointing fingers, the blame is on me." I promise you. One dude was like, "I'ma swallow my pride, say I'm sorry, suck on your finger." I promise you.
Yeah.
I could call out his name. I could call out his name who said that. He said, "Suck on your fingers." I said,
You know,
"Man,
who got an issue with pronouncing his words correctly?
all Wanye said, stop pointing fingers. The blame is on me."
I
That's
thought he
what,
was saying stomp on these fingers.
no, he says, something wrong with y'all. Something wrong with y'all. He
It
said,
was
"I'm going to
no.
swallow
I'm
my
just
pride."
listening to words now. I thought
No,
all he
listen
did
to
was
the lyrics.
stomp
The
on
lyrics
his
make
fingers.
sense. The lyrics, it says, "I'm going to swallow my pride, say I'm sorry, stop pointing fingers, the blame is on me. I want a new life," and I want, the rest of the
I don't
song.
like those words. I like my words better. Stomp
No.
on these
Now you
No,
probably
yeah, you know what, Drea? He must have really, really messed up because he had to put his own with it. I stuck on your fingers. I did so wrong.
say I'm sorry. Stop on your fingers. The blame is on me. I want a new life. So, Dre, you trying to tell me you
Stop,
really thought
stop on your
thought
fingers.
since 1994 that Wanye was saying, "I want to stomp on your fingers"?
I
You
was
really thought
3 years old when I realized it wasn't stomp on these fingers.
it's
Like he's
stop
telling her to
pointing
stomp on the
fingers.
fingers because he want her to like get back at him. I don't know. My life has changed. What's going on?
Yeah, it sounds like it can make sense because of what he did. I hear you.
Yeah.
Swallow
That's
my
why I
pride,
said
say I'm sorry, stomp on your fingers. Blame it on me.
Hey, I know a song that I know a song that everybody. Well, I used to thought I didn't know what they were saying when they said Shadrach, Meshach, and a Billy Goat. I really thought it was
Yes.
a Billy Goat.
I used to say Billy Goat.
I thought it was a bad Negro. No, I'm just playing. That was just a joke. The three young men lived very long ago. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
I
That's
thought it
how
was Billy
we
Goat.
sung a song like that in Sunday school when I was a kid.
Okay, hold on. I got the simplest one of all, the alphabet. A B C.
Elemental P.
Yeah.
That was all one word.
Yeah, we made it one word. Elemental P.
No.
Eminem.
No.
Well, I definitely am guilty. I am guilty of saying. I know I was elemental P. I still say it, and I be singing it with little kids now. And I'm like A B C D E F G H H I J K elemental P U R S T U V. I still do it.
The whole word.
You'll get fired probably. Because I think elemental P it just sounds better to me. I'm sorry, it sounds better. It go LOMOP. No, that's no. You gotta say elemental P, man. I'm sorry. Anyway.
I used to that. Good. I got into an argument with one of my teachers talking about it's LMNOP. No, it's not. It's elemental.
Elemental. Girl, you keep shaking your head. No, girl, you used to say elemental P too when you was a kid.
Okay, the difference is I said elemental, but I knew that meant LMNO.
Me too. I did too.
Elemento.
No, I mean I knew it meant that too. I knew that even as a kid, but yeah.
Okay, you know what? We shouldn't be confessing to this one. Let's do a song, another one.
No. We letting all the cats out the bag tonight. Nuh-uh.
Oh,
Elementa. You got Elementa. You got Elemento. Anybody else?
Elemento.
Hold on, we got this fella. Elemental P is a princess.
I'm not owning up to that.
I like that
whole name. It's a
And
whole
Mayoli.
elemental.
I like Mayoli's the best. Mayoli's is the best.
Hold up. The Elemento.
I like how you type it. I like that one the best. JK. This one,
Pino, come here.
That's a funny one right there.
Wino P. ST, I ain't never say that.
No, but that one makes sense. Like I can hear because I teach little kids. I can hear little kids saying it like that. HIJKNONOP. Like that just to get it out.
I guess.
Oh, now we all crickets. Before y'all was like
who's Ella? you never heard of Ella Fitzgerald Minnow? That says Ella. Her middle name. Her name was Ella Minnow Fitzgerald. You never heard of her?
Oh my god.
Yeah, Ella Minnow Fitzgerald. That was her name. That was her middle name.
So can somebody please tell me what was Michael Jackson saying? Is that I'm a same, I'm a sama mock? What is he saying?
I have no idea. I still don't know what he said.
Mama say, Mama samu makusa.
Yeah. It took me a while to get into
I still don't know what he said.
It took me a while too.
I'm saying Michael song. I'm saying I think he's saying something about Michael sung. I'm a singer monkey song the Michael sung. I'm a singer monkey song. I still think that's what he said.
I thought he was saying Mama say Mama Sama Makusa, but I was just like, what do that mean?
Michael Jackson did a lot of things we didn't know.
Yeah, when it comes to Michael, when he gets some of his grunts up in there, you got to really listen hard to some of his. What? Dumb on. What is dumb on?
Yeah.
You trying you sounding like an Indian now. D, everything is in D's. Wait a minute. Dumb on. What's dumb on? What? No, wait a minute. Is that?
Come on.
I love Mike, but sometimes I'll be looking at him like, hey, you need to use your pronunciation a little bit better. I don't know what a demon is.
Well, he did some of that stuff on purpose, though, man. With syllables and stuff like that, he really was doing a lot of that stuff on purpose. You know, he was just trying to create a style.
Make up a word.
Yeah, he was doing some.
He made a few words, right? Shamon.
Right? Shamon.
Right. He made a whole lot of words. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Right now, that's taking gospel music and putting funny words to it or making up his own. I got to find it, but it's so funny because he'll take some of the regular songs that we know today.
You must be talking about Kevon Carter, man. You probably talking about Kevon Carter.
The ones that what it really sound like to the normal ear if you didn't know what
yeah.
were, but it's just so funny.
You might be talking about Kevon Carter. He does stuff like that. He's a real gifted musician and stuff. I'm gonna play my favorite one by him. This is Kevon Carter. This I don't know. This is him making fun of. I guess you could say CCM, praise and worship music. I'm going to put it up on here now. Just
We can't hear you, Richard.
He froze.
He kind of look like the Tin Man.
Hey, Ron. There you go, freezing again. How long can he keep that face, Ron?
Yeah, it looked like he needs some oil.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, how long can he stay like that?
Hey, man, that's funny.
That's the perfect picture.
He hasn't blinked yet.
Y'all always cracking on me. Y'all know stream. Y'all be making me freeze. Y'all know what my Andre. She thinks she funny. Look at all right. I see what y'all doing. I see what y'all doing. That's all good. It's all good. Okay. All right.
I
Just like y'all clowned me
Hey,
when I
hey, that's
fell asleep.
hilarious.
Just like y'all clowned me when I fell asleep. Okay. All right. But one day, one of y'all gonna fall asleep, just like Ron did today, and I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get
Richard,
you. I'm gonna get you real good.
fall asleep.
What you say?
Your show, you cannot fall asleep.
Well, I did.
Bert?
What you gonna do about it?
Hey,
I was tired, Drea. I
It
was
was jazz
tired.
sleepy time.
You did have a good
It was jazz sleepy time.
I had a long day that day too.
You did.
Oh Lord.
And I mean, the music was playing. We was playing the tracks, and it was like, yo, I was sleeping during the other tracks too, but that particular one, I just didn't wake up in time, and I can
Yeah,
hear
your
y'all in my
tongue was hanging
headphones.
out and
Jeez,
everything.
man. That was
There go D talking
hilarious.
about the
Dre's-
tongue again.
Your tongue hanging out and
Hey,
everything. I thought I
somebody
see
in
a
the
little
comment
groove
section
coming
said this
out.
track
Oh
is so
my
hot,
goodness.
Jazz is falling asleep.
Yeah, that was Mike A that said that. That was Mike A.
Hey, but hey, Jazz, but James said you look like a tin man. A T.
He said that yesterday or something like that, didn't he?
Nah, we're talking about the Wiz. You remember the Wiz when?
Yeah, I know you did. Didn't you say that yesterday, or you said that today?
Today.
Oh, because someone called me the Tin Man the other day that my Chrome, because that was just my Chrome browser crash.
Yeah, but
When
you
I
look
hit the share
like
button,
you
the
started
browser
crying.
crashed, and of course I freeze up whenever this thing crashes.
It look like that took it though. Look like the Tin Man. A T.
And then you look
Yeah,
like the
somebody said that the other day. The same thing when I crashed the other time. They said, "Yeah, he looked like the Tin Man."
Ooh.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm trying to load up the thing now that I was trying. Hopefully my browser won't crash again. I think after when I click share so many times, it's like the browser just decides to crash. But basically, this dude was making fun of. He's like, worship songs be like this now. Now let me hit the share button and see if it want to crash on me. Here we go. I'm trying it now again. Here we go. Is it going to crash? No. Okay, we got it this time. All right, I'm trying to wait till Dre. I want to wait till Dre comes back before I play it, so I can make sure she hears this too. But to me, this dude makes a
Hey,
lot
that
of
one was hilarious.
yeah. This
Stepped out the camera to eat my pizza.
all right. Check this out. Now this is worship songs be like this. Okay, so check this out.
Consuming fire, burn me up till there's nothing left of me but ashes. Place me in your holy toaster till all the impurities are gone. Put me in your microwave for 10 minutes. I'm not burnt all the way, then keep me in it. Be like a home run pizza. Burn me up. Burn me up.
I'm sorry, y'all. That is like the funniest thing. I've listened to
Hey
this
man, when I
video.
first heard that,
Yeah, I sent it. I texted to
Hey,
Ron a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
I love when
boy,
he
they
takes some of
killed
the
me.
bad voices. Let me tell you what this guy's a genius because he can take some of the most worst singing.
Oh yeah, he does.
How to
He is a genius.
you got to be gifted to do that.
How does
But
he follow them? It's insane.
I
I've
don't
listened.
know how he does it either.
I've listened to that clip so many times. I know the whole song. I could sing the whole song. That's how many times. Like,
Oh, you
What?
know,
I can sing
consuming
a whole song without
fire.
doing
Richard,
that.
give us your
Burn-
version of Burn Me Up.
Say that again.
Play and sing Burn Me Up.
Play it again. You said.
No, I want your version.
Oh no, I said I just know I don't have my own version. I just said that I've listened to this so much that I can sing all the words to this.
Oh,
You,
I
you
That's
mean
all I
you
was.
actually know the words?
perform it.
Oh, he could. This is the whole song. He says, "Consuming fire, burn me up." Till there's nothing left of me but ashes. Place me in your holy toaster till all of my impurities are gone. And then go and then he harmonizes and say, put me in your microwave for 10 minutes. If I'm not burnt all the way, then put me in it. I mean, yeah, keep me in it. Sorry about that. Cook me like a home run pizza. Burn me up. And then he lifts his hands up and say, burn me up. Now listen to the song again and tell me if I didn't have the words right. Listen to it again. I had the words right. I'm telling you.
He's so sincere.
Till there's nothing left of me but ashes.
Hallelujah.
Keep me in your holy till all of my impurities are gone. Put me in your microwave for 10 minutes.
Why is he harmonizing that?
I'm all the way, then keep me in it. Like a home run.
I told you I know that song. I'm sorry. I listened to it so many times. I know all the words. I can sing it. I need to sit down and do a piano tutorial. I need to learn it on the piano. Record.
Hey man, but hey, when you sent that to me, I was no good, man.
It's the funniest. I mean, when I first heard it, man, I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, I understand the joke too. It's like sometimes the praise and worship music do be saying some dumb stuff in it sometimes.
Burn me up like
till there's nothing left of me but ashes. Place me in. This dude said, place me in your holy toaster till all of my impurities are gone. I'm like,
burn me up.
And he said, put me in your microwave for 10 minutes. Then he said, if I'm not burnt all the way, then keep me in it. I'm like, oh my God.
Y'all know what? I thought of that. You know what? Now that Acoustic said something, I know the perfect song of the words that it was so backwards that you can't help but to laugh. Have you ever seen the movie called Walk Hard?
No.
Okay, it was supposed to be about this white musician called I can't think of his name. He was about civil rights and stuff like that. God, what is it? But there's a song on there, and he saw a red post. I gotta find it. Hold up, I'm gonna let y'all listen to it. I'm telling you, when you hear it, then it's gonna be funnier than all of them. Should walk hard.
Now this isn't some like professional song that I might get hit on because I don't think I'm gonna get a copyright strike on that song because I don't think it's a real song. So.
The dude's called Dewey Cox, and he plays. But he's playing the life of Bob Dylan. I'm trying to hold on.
For those of you that want to see that video I just played, I'm gonna put the link in the chat right now. If you want to see it on your own, the "Burn Me Up" song, I'm gonna put it just in case y'all want to see it on the back in the future. So there it is right there. If y'all want to check it out later. But I tell you, I've looked at that so many times that I know the words. With no problem.
I'm gonna wake my husband up first thing in the morning and do morning devotions with that song, but he's not gonna know that I'm gonna play that song.
Yeah, don't tell him. Just play it. It's just say, baby, I got this new worship song. You got to hear it. Let's go.
We need to pray together.
Let's pray. And he gonna look at you like, have you? What the heck am I listening to?
He's gonna shake his head and walk away. That's what he's gonna leave.
Oh man, I've sent this song to so many different people. It's not even funny because it's just. I mean, sometimes you just need a good laugh, and this one is just. It's guaranteed to make you laugh. I mean, it's just. Burn me up. I mean, like I said, you know that there's a lot of songs out there that just have some really dumb lyrics to
Hey, the holy toaster, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
man, put me in your mind. No, he said, yeah, to all my impurities are gone. That's what he said. Put me in your holy toaster to all my impurities are gone. Okay,
Okay,
112.
here I got the lyrics. Okay, mailbox drip like a lamppost in the twisted birth of the Colosseum. Rim job fairy T post master tipper. I'm sorry, hold on. I can play it better. Hold on. Let me play it because it's just crazy. It's crazy. I have never heard anyone can be able to create. And the song is called. Hold on, because I found it. I found the lyrics to it. It's called Royal Jelly by uh on the
Wow,
song
Andre
Walk
cracking
Hard.
up over
Just
there.
go and get.
Andre cracking up over there.
You gotta go listen to it's also, oh my God. When I heard that, I was like, are you serious right now? Like, who can invent lyrics like that? So, okay, let me see if I can. All right, hold on.
At Sprint, our priority is
I hate when
customers, employees, and communities
This
safe
better not
during
be
these
some copyrighted song, man. Get me in trouble. Because I know this song is not a copyrighted song that he just did.
Just stop at the title. I'm already dead, please.
no, that's not the one I was thinking of, but it's the one in the
About to
movie.
get me
And
in
all I
trouble.
No, well, look, all you got to do is go to. It's called Dewey Cox. It's Bob Dylan and Walk Hard, and it's you can't help but to.
Try to help people with my music.
Some people are saying that your new music sounds a lot like Bob Dylan.
Well, maybe Bob Dylan sounds a lot like me. You know, how come nobody ever asked Bob Dylan? Why he sounds so much like Dewey Cox?
Mailboxes drip like lampposts in the twisted birth canal of the Colosseum. Rim job fairy teapots mask the temper tantrum. Oh, say, can you see 'em? Stuffed cabbage is the darling of the laundromat. The mouse with the overbite explained how the rabbit.
What the hell is this song about?
I have no idea.
You guys are idiots. This song is very deep.
Inside the three-eyed monkey within inches of his toaster oven light.
Boy, when I heard that lyric right there, I'm like, you got to be one hell of a fire musician to be able to put those words together to make a damn song that make absolutely no sense. And then at the end, like, what is he talking about? And the black dude talking about you are all idiots. The song is deep. I was really high when he did that. So it's like, oh my God.
I'm confused. When does the royal jelly come in? That's the
Oh, I didn't play the whole song. That's the name of the song is called Royal Jelly, but like I said, he was higher than giraffes, you know what. So ain't no telling. And not only was the lyrics wrong, he probably didn't even realize that he wrote the daggone title wrong. Like, that's you want to talk about as backwards of a song as you can get. That's it. Go to the Dewey Cox movie and look at that movie, and it's called Royal Jelly, and listen to it. And if you're talking about some backward music, that's backwards for your, you know what?
Okay. For your buttocks. He said, you know what? I was like, what are you talking about? Your buttocks or something? Anyway. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have been on long enough. 3 hours, 27 minutes, and we're starting to really, you can tell that we are really losing it now. So we're going to go ahead on and start wrapping this up. But definitely Saturday, you know, on Saturdays we do the beats. From last Saturday, I can't remember what the chords are, but feel free to just go to the old stream. If you would like to participate in the beat making thing, just make sure you have that track to me by tomorrow noon, right? That's the rule, right? Yeah, Friday by noon. and we will play that track. So, Andre, you going to make up something real quick for us? You have to look at last Saturday things to get to what the chords are.
I know. I have to do better. I'll if it's not to you tomorrow by noon, then no, I won't be able to do it because my schedule picked up this week. So
gotcha. Yeah, you working again now? Something? What you doing a digital thing?
Well, yeah, we were on a break until they implemented our distance learning. So now I have to prep video lessons every week. So
gotcha. Okay. Yeah. All right. Do you still have time to do what? Because I know you and I supposed to be doing something together. You still got time to do that?
Yes, but what I was doing, I ordered me some headphones with a mic so I can. Because remember, I don't have gear and stuff, so I keep breaking stuff. So I should have them soon.
All right. So yeah, it's supposed to be My First Love, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I need to sit down and learn that song. Okay. All right. And Ron is did you work on that track yet? With my chords from the Do You Want to Learn How? That one.
You want to hear a snippet?
I don't know if I want to hear a snippet or do I want to wait till Saturday to play it. For those of you, you know that on my homepage, I have a little song I wrote, do you want to know how to play your favorite song? Well, Ron took those chords and he's making a beat out of it. And so he's going to play. He's going to play a little snippet of it. But this will be my first time. I haven't heard anything. I heard what I sent him because I had to play the chords for him. He wanted me to play the chords. So I played the chords, sent it to him. So he's about to give us a snippet. And hopefully by Saturday, we'll be able to hear the whole thing. So I'm giving him a second to load that up. This should be interesting. I'm very interested in seeing what he did. He said he just told me to play the chords. So this is all I sent him. I just sent him that. Sent it to him, and we're going to see what he does with that. So, yeah. So join us.
Tell me if you can hear it or not.
Okay. I hear something. Oh, he made it hip hop. Of course he did. Funky.
Oh, nice.
Funk.
Oh, wait a minute.
I was gonna say the tempo just sped up. It sounds like
yeah. Hold on.
Oh. Ooh. It's hard to hear, but I can hear. I do hear what you're doing.
So it's just a snippet.
I hear the chords though. I mean, it was like the bass dropped out, but I could still hear what was going on. I'm like, oh, okay. So do you think you'll have that finished by Saturday? Because if so, I want to present that one on Saturday. The remix to my theme song. And once you do that remix, I'm gonna record myself singing it again. So I'll record myself singing it to your remix, and maybe that will become the new version of my opening. Yeah.
That'll be tight, man.
Okay, that's cool.
I threw some stank on it.
Oh yeah, it was some funk. Yeah, it was some stank, some funk, some booty. I mean, you just put everything up on that thing. Some unwashed beauties and stuff.
Put the word yelling up on that.
What'd you say, Andre?
Bad joke. I'm sorry.
That's all. I can rewind this back later to see what you said. I'll just rewind it back later and find out what you did.
Hey, Lord, just burn her up like ashes.
Oh my goodness! Oh, no. Well, this was good. I really enjoyed this one tonight, y'all. So again, we'll be back Saturday. Dread, are you going to join us on Saturday also?
I hope to. I will let you know a day in advance if I can, but I'm trying to. If I can get away from my kids, I'll be here.
Okay, cool. And Ron, usually you're here with us. Diminished, she's usually in here waiting on me to get started. Like when I come on StreamYard, she's usually already in here, so she should be here. Okay. James, I don't know what your schedule is, and 112 Dizzy, I don't know what your schedule is,
I'll
but
be here.
All right, cool. So I guess
and before we sign off, I just want to read a quote. See, there you go. It says no two people. It says no two people on earth
She's
are
burned up
alike.
like ashes.
I know it's time to go. Go ahead, D. Go ahead, D. I know it's time to go now.
It says, no two people on earth are alike. And it's got to be that way in music, or it isn't music. And that was by Billie Holiday.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
Benedict.
Okay. Yeah, and with that we have the benediction.
That's the benediction.
Amen. Oh my goodness.
Amen.
I used to know how to play that song. How you play? Amen. Amen. Nah, that's wrong. Men. Amen, everyone. Catch y'all on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bye.
All right, y'all. Peace.
See y'all.